Chapter 1852. Mr. Zhongliang, forgive me for being blunt, but I don't think your words are appropriate. Duanmu looked at Zhongliang calmly. She had some understanding of the origin of this sentence, but Zhongliang had completely distorted its meaning. This paragraph came from Mencius. The general meaning of the original text was that justice was more important than life, and advocated sacrificing one's life for righteousness. Mencius was kind by nature, and believed that everyone has a heart of shame and evil. People should maintain their kind nature and strengthen their daily cultivation and education. They should not do anything that goes against etiquette. In short, the person who was abandoned should be the synonym of evil. Could it be that in Mr. Zhongliang's eyes, Dustless is more evil than Wei Zhuang? So we should abandon Dustless and choose Wei Zhuang? In the face of Duanmu Rong's questioning, Zhongliang just frowned and did not speak. In fact, in Zhongliang's eyes, Wei Zhuang was indeed more trustworthy than Dustless. What he said just now was his true thoughts. Dustless's identity and origin were unknown. It was impossible to tell whether he was a friend or foe. It was only natural that he should be abandoned. At least Zhongliang knew Wei Zhuang's background, while Dustless seemed to be hiding in a fog. It was difficult to see his true position. Miss Duanmu, there's no need for you to care about such things. I'm not deliberately targeting anyone. The reason why I recommended Lu Sha to everyone was to unite and deal with the state of Qin. As for being hostile to Wu Chun, that's even more groundless, Zhongliang argued wittily. Even if he was hostile to Dustless, he would not say it out loud. Groundless may not be without reason. Leaving such a sentence, Duanmu Rong left with an ugly expression. Although she knew that the alliance between the Mo family and Quicksand was forced by the terrible situation, it was a sudden alliance. Even Duanmu Rong was somewhat against it, let alone Dustless. After all, in the Battle of Mechanical City, a large number of disciples of the Mo family died because of Wei Zhuang. At this moment, in another direction, above the endless sea, the gigantic mirage was moving slowly. It was similar to a sea test, but it was not a real voyage. It was just testing the performance of the mirage. This ship is ridiculously big. I clearly killed that old man Gong Shuqiao. How can this mirage still be activated? I remember that I even destroyed his heart. In a certain elegant room, Dustless was lazily admiring the cherry blossoms in the courtyard. Beside him stood two peerless beauties. Although both of them had cold faces, they were still pretty good. It was the moon god and great Ximing. Gong Shuqiao turned himself into a mechanical puppet. But how did you appear on the mirage? The moon goddess looked around and saw the carefree Dustless. She said with confusion, "The elusive mirage has been in the sea for the past few days. Navigation in the surrounding sea is forbidden. Don't tell me you flew here. TSK, you are indeed the moon god. You are indeed wise. Your guess is pretty close." Dustless looked at the moon god with a chuckle. Immediately, he pulled Great Ximing's right arm and opened it. A special symbol appeared on the snow-white arm. This is the Flying Thunder God Warlock. You can treat it as a spatial coordinate. Even if you are at the end of the world, you can instantly meet someone with my Flying Thunder God Warlock. It is not accurate to say that it is flying. This is a method of spatial movement. Dustless smiled. The Flying Thunder God Warlock was indeed a very convenient ninjutsu. Such a magical skill. Great Ximing and Moon God looked at Dustless in shock. This guy was simply the synonym of omnipotence. It seemed that there was nothing that he could not do. Why did you come to the mirage? After all, Moon God was also a guardian of the Yinyang school. Thinking of their current location, she said uneasily, "This is the mirage. Yun Zhongjun, Xinghun, Yang Ximing, and other experts are all on this ship. I need you to help me complete a task." Dustless let out a heavy breath and said coldly, "Those idiots from the Mo family actually joined forces with Wei Zhuang. They are really digging their own graves. I will tell you the location. By then the Yinyang school will eliminate Wei Zhuang. It would be best if you can eliminate Zhongliang as well." "Aren't you from the Mo family?" Great Ximing asked in surprise. Dustless was too evil. He actually wanted to kill him. "Who told you that I am from the Mo family? If I am from the Mo family, I will definitely not join forces with Wei Zhuang's Lu Sha and Zhang Liang. These two also have their eyes on the 7 constellations of Azure Dragon. Dustless rolled his eyes and snorted. Immediately he said in a deep voice, I have a good relationship with Duan Murong from the Mo family. Snow Girl is also somewhat familiar with me. As for the others, I don't have much connection with them. But even if I do, no matter who they are, no matter what force they are from, anyone who dares to snatch the 7 constellations of Azure Dragon, from me will definitely die. Hearing Dustless's murderous tone, the Moon Goddess and Great Sea Ming looked at each other and lowered their heads at the same time. If we directly attack you, you may be exposed. Wei Zhuang and the Mo family have just formed an alliance, and the Yinyang school is looking for trouble. This is too much of a coincidence. Zhang Liang is smart and cunning. He will definitely see through the existence of a mole. Great Sea Ming frowned worriedly. She and Dustless had already done that, so it was normal for her to be worried about him. This is very simple. Dustless smiled disapprovingly and said calmly, I have thought about this before. The Yinyang school deliberately sent a Black Dragon scroll, which was intercepted by Wei Zhuang's people. With Old Ban's ability, it is only a matter of time before he deciphered the Black Dragon scroll. He just needs to put a trap in the scroll and wait for Wei Zhuang to come to his death. Chapter 1853. Although the plan is a little rough and shallow, it's still alright. Moon Goddess reluctantly agreed. Rough and shallow. Hearing this, Dustless's eyes darkened. He stared at the indifferent Moon Goddess, and could not help but feel a little conflicted. Was she praising him or mocking him? You have to be careful. Xing Han has already treated you as a sore point. Dong Huangtai has also started to notice you. Great Sea Ming reminded. Ever since she became Dustless's subordinate, she had started to call Dong Huangtai by his name. Is that so? That brat misses me so much? Dustless rubbed his chin, then stretched his body and said casually, Let's put aside the matter of Xing Han and Dong Huangtai for now. It's best if we can get rid of Wei Zhuang and Lu Sha as soon as possible. Those people are too much of an eyesore. With you as a hidden pawn, if they still want to live peacefully, they are really lucky. Moon Goddess looked at Dustless confidently, and could not help but sympathize with Wei Zhuang and the rest. She sighed and said, The enemy is scary, but it's nothing compared to the traitor. Speaking of which, how is Yua recently? Dustless suddenly asked as he looked at the sky full of cherry blossoms. Ever since she met Dong Huangtai, her name has been changed to Jiru Qianlong. She is now studying the illusory sound treasure box in detail. Moon Goddess explained in detail. With me watching over her, you can rest assured. Remember, be careful of Xing Han. This brat is also very curious about you. With that, Dustless's body emitted a dazzling golden light, and disappeared from Moon Goddess and Great Sea Ming's eyes. Confucian School, Shaoxing Manor. When he returned from the elusive mirage, Dustless met Zhang Liang at the entrance of Shaoxing Manor. When he saw Dustless, he was overjoyed. When he saw that there was no one around, he asked, That's strange. Brother Dustless left before me. Why did you only arrive at Shaoxing Manor now? Well, Dustless pondered for a moment. He couldn't just say that he was going to discuss with the school of Yinyang about how to set them up, could he? The scenery of the Sang Sea is beautiful. It can be said to be a paradise on earth. I was focused on admiring the scenery along the way, and arrived a little late. Dustless casually found an excuse. In any case, Zhang Liang would not be easily convinced. Since that was the case, he might as well give him a perfunctory answer. Prince Fu Su came to find you, saying that he wants to thank you for saving his life. Zhang Liang leaned close to Dustless's ear and whispered, Brother Dustless, forgive me for being blunt, but you actually saved the Empire's crown prince. This is truly shocking. I thought you would. You think I will kill Fu Su? Glancing at Fu Su, who was implying something, Wu Chen said softly, Zifang, although I have killed countless people, but I have my principles. If he is my enemy, I will definitely not let him off. Those who dared to plot against him would also die. Those who have a conflict of interest will also not let him off. But Fu Su was not one of these factors. Dustless would also not kill him casually. If you kill Fu Su, The empire will definitely suffer heavy losses. Zhang Liang revealed a pitiful expression and said regretfully, everyone in the world knows that Fu Su is the chosen successor of Yingzheng. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So what? Zifang, you are mistaken about one thing. Dustless organized his thoughts and used a demarcating tone to say, I do not belong to the Mo family. Similarly, I am not a member of the anti-Qin forces. Whether the Qin kingdom is destroyed or continues to prosper, it has nothing to do with me. You. Zhang Liang's deep eyes flashed with a trace of blame. These words undoubtedly showed Dustless's position. What right do you have to talk about me? Seeing Zhang Liang's slightly unhappy expression, Dustless laughed in his heart. Zhang Liang was also the two-faced type. It was hard to determine whether he was good or evil. Although this kid had helped the Mo family and was in cahoots with Wei Zhuang, his relationship with Li Si was unclear. Li Si even referred to Zhang Liang as an old friend. In short, in Dustless's eyes, Zhang Liang was an extremely complicated person who was inextricably linked to every faction. Let's talk about this later. In short, I feel that Fu Su has come today with ill intentions. I'm afraid that he has come to force the Confucian school to express their stance, Zhang Liang said worriedly. He was only the third head of the Confucian school. The real decision-maker was Fu Nian, and Zhang Liang was only secretly helping the Mo family. Express their stance? Dustless muttered and said bluntly, is this forcing the Confucian school to stand on the side of the Qin kingdom? Apart from that, Fu Su probably wants to learn from something important. Zhang Liang stared at Dustless with burning eyes and advised, from what I see, Fu Su is also interested in the Yellowstone Heavenly Book. I guess that he is mainly here for it. So I advise you to give it to Fu Su. Otherwise, you will be in trouble. I'll be in trouble? Dustless revealed a look of disdain. Zhang Liang was not afraid of Dustless being in trouble, but the Confucian school. After all, Dustless was now a disciple of the Confucian school, and would definitely implicate the Confucian school. In other words, Dustless and Li Si are here to find trouble? Dustless calmly asked. His hoarse voice made Zhang Liang feel uneasy. This scourge really shouldn't have been brought into the Confucian school. Zhang Liang was filled with regret. When Dustless joined the Confucian school, he had strongly opposed it. However, his arm was stronger than the thigh, so he finally compromised and allowed Dustless to join the Confucian school. Now that Dustless did not agree to hand over the Yellowstone Heavenly Book, what if he angered Dustless and even tried to assassinate Fu Su? The little sage manor would definitely be destroyed. Zhang Liang's intestines were green with regret. Looking at Dustless's face, he was simply inviting a wolf into the house. Chapter 1854. At the end of the day, Zhang Liang was still a disciple of the Confucian school and the third head. He could not watch Dustless kill the Confucian school without doing anything. He could only continue to persuade him. Brother Dustless, why do you care about that legendary thing? Are you sure you can understand the Yellowstone Heavenly Book? How can you understand something so profound? Zhang Liang was not looking down on or mocking Dustless. Everyone in the Little Saint Manor knew that Dustless was strong but illiterate. It was already difficult for him to write his name in Xiaozhuan, not to mention the profound Yellowstone Heavenly Book, which was an ancient language. I won't bother Zifang this time. You are going to be disappointed. Dustless shrugged and explained. To be honest, the Yellowstone Heavenly Book I won last time was taken away by Sun Fuzi. After he comprehended it, he will share the contents with me. You are in trouble. Hearing this, Zhang Liang could no longer keep calm and said irritably, Martial Uncle has a strange temperament. I am afraid he will not listen to Prince Fu Su. So you should let nature take its course, Zifang. Patting Zhang Liang's shoulder, Dustless stepped into the Little Saint Manor. When you see Prince Fu Su later, you must be careful with your words. Do not speak nonsense. Remember that you are now a disciple of the Confucian school. Every action and every word represents the face of the Little Saint Manor. Compared to Dustless, who was gloating, Zhang Liang's handsome face was as ugly as it could be. Especially when Dustless jumped up and down, it gave Zhang Liang a headache. Fu Su is here, you should at least be nervous. Could it be that other than Fu Su, There is another great person? When I came back, I did not see the heavy armored soldiers of the Qin kingdom. This means that the Qin army that came to the Little Saint Manor this time is very rare. But they should all be experts. After all, that guy is the prince, the future heir of the empire. While appreciating the pleasant scenery of flowers and plants, Wuchen asked casually, "Is he a Taoist?" "How did you know?" Zhang Liang raised his voice several times louder than before, and a look of shock surfaced on his face. If he remembered correctly, Dustless should have just returned. The moment he stepped into Little Saint Manor, he guessed that it was Fu Su's follower. How could Zhang Liang not be shocked? This is very simple. I also know that they should be from the Heaven sect of Taoism, right? The Human sect is an ally of the school of Mo, so it is reasonable for their archenemy, the Heaven sect, to join the Qin kingdom's camp. Dustless calmly explained. In his mind, an image of a beautiful girl appeared. This time there is indeed an extraordinary person who came along with Fu Su. Zhang Liang nodded woodenly. Then he said in a troubled tone, "First senior brother can deal with the Heaven sect's sect master, Xiaomeng. However, her seniority is higher than mine and my two senior brothers. Only martial uncle can compete with her. It really is her." Hearing this, Dustless was enlightened. Seeing the figure in front of him, he quickened his pace and walked over. At the same time, the moon god and Great Sea Ming followed Dustless's plan, and ordered a group of Qin soldiers to leave with the Black Dragon Scroll. They purposely let the school of Mo or Wei Zhuang discover their whereabouts. Soon, the fish took the bait and snatched the Black Dragon Scroll away. These people from the school of Mo are so stupid. Wei Zhuang is not as good as Dustless in all aspects, but these idiots chose to abandon Dustless and join forces with Wei Zhuang. How foolish! On the peak of the mountain, Great Sea Ming and the moon god stood side by side. The battle in the valley below had already ended, and the school of Mo had the absolute advantage. In less than half an hour, hundreds of Qin soldiers were killed by the people from the school of Mo and the people from the quicksand. This is human nature. In their eyes, Dustless is just one person, while Wei Zhuang is the leader of a force. Moreover, he is a noble of Korea and has a feud with the Qin kingdom. With Zhang Liang's persuasion, it is normal for the school of Mo to side with Wei Zhuang. Moon God coldly said, "It is a shame. You gave up the sky and chose to live in hell." The actions of the people from the school of Mo can no longer be described with the word foolish. No wonder Dustless refused to be the leader of the school of Mo. The doctrine of this sect does not suit him. There is a fundamental problem. It is only a matter of time before it is destroyed. In fact, as the moon god said, in the future, the school of Mo would disappear from history. Speaking of which, what did Dustless leave in the Black Dragon Scroll? Great Sea Ming could not hold back his curiosity and looked at the moon god expectantly. On the 18th of next month, the first emperor will tour the east. This is the content hidden in the Black Dragon Scroll, the moon god said softly. I see. In this case, the rebels of the school of Mo and the people from the school of Mo will kill Zheng at all costs. Great Sea Ming's cold face formed a beautiful arc. The only difference was that it was very deadly. For the people who were against the Qin kingdom, they could not wait for the first emperor to go on a tour. In this way, they could seize the opportunity to assassinate him. Once the school of Mo knows about the content of the Black Dragon Scroll, they will kill Zheng at all costs, Great Sea Ming said with certainty. That is true. But it is a pity. Zheng will tour the east, but not now. Their wish is destined to fail. It is just a beautiful dream that is out of their reach. Moreover, the person who will replace Zheng to tour the east this time is Xing Han. This was Dustless's plan. He would use Xing Han to kill Wei Zhuang and the others. Then he would jump out to be the savior and win everyone's trust. What a perfect script. Chapter 1855. Yueshan and Great Sea Ming gave their full support to Dustless's plan. There was nothing they could do. Although they were still part of the school of Yinyang on the surface, Yueshan and Great Sea Ming's relationship with Dustless could not be severed. Especially Great Sea Ming. Not only was her mind taken over by Dustless, even her body was taken over by him. As for Yueshan, she was also subdued by Dustless. In the past, The moon deity had no choice but to launch a sneak attack on Xing Hun. Once this matter was exposed, the moon deity would definitely suffer. Hence, she had always been threatened by Wuxia. For the time being, she listened to everything he said and did not dare to go against him. However, as time passed after being Dustless's follower for a while, Yueshan was shocked to find that following Dustless was not bad. Compared to Dustless, Dong Huangtai's astrology was simply too weak. Although astrology was magical, it could only vaguely predict the general situation. On the other hand, Dustless was nature-defying and could do what others couldn't. He could predict the future every time and come up with the most detailed and accurate data clues to convince others. He was countless times better than Dong Huangtai. As for his strength, it was needless to say. The mission is completed. Let's retreat for now. Looking over, School of Mo and Quicksand's people were crushing the Qin army at lightning speed. Then they hurriedly cleaned up the battlefield. It seemed like they did not want to leave any evidence behind. However, they did not know that their every move was seen by Yueshan and Great Xi Ming. That old man banned from School of Mo is also very skilled in the art of traps. He is not weaker than Gong Shuqiu. I'm afraid he will solve the Black Dragon scroll soon. Great Xi Ming agreed. Then, the two of them turned into green smoke and disappeared with the wind. On the other side, at Xiaoxing's manor, the atmosphere was tense, especially the current head of Confucianism, Fu Nian, who was the most depressed. First, Li Si came to find trouble and he managed to deal with it. Now Fu Su came. Fu Nian's heart was extremely heavy. He even had the thought of exorcising ghosts for peace. Furthermore, Fu Su's excuse made it difficult for Fu Nian to reject him. Ignoring the other party's identity, he had come to the sage manor to thank him. How could he reject him? Everyone. At this moment, a voice that everyone hadn't heard for a long time suddenly rang out, instantly attracting everyone's attention. The people who came into view were Dustless and Zhang Liang. Seeing this, Li Si groaned and pointed at Dustless as he reprimanded. Zichun, how dare you? You actually dared to make the young master wait for you for an hour. This is a great disrespect. Last time, Dustless had won the Yellowstone Heavenly Book from Li Si, causing this fellow to hate Dustless to death. How could he let go of such a good opportunity? Lord Prime Minister, the guilty person is you. Dustless sneered and immediately retorted sarcastically. My Lord Prime Minister, you should understand that this is the Confucian school, and should abide by the Confucian school's rules. Young Master Fu Su has yet to speak, but you speak first. Do you have any respect for the young master? You? Hearing this, Li Si's old face instantly darkened. He fiercely glared at Dustless before hurriedly apologizing. Young master, please forgive me. I neglected it for a moment. Neglected it for a moment? Lord Prime Minister, don't you know that there is a saying that a person's true nature is often inadvertently revealed? Perhaps the moment that you neglected it just now was Lord Li's true nature. Dustless continued his attack, his words causing Li Si's old face to turn red. This despicable brat. After hearing this, Li Si hurriedly knelt on the ground and secretly glanced at Fu Su. Seeing that the latter was not angry, he heaved a sigh of relief. To be honest, Li Si really did not care about Fu Su. Although this fellow was the future successor of the empire, Fu Su currently did not have any real power. In history, Fu Su was killed by this Li Si in front of him. Brat, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't speak carelessly. If a young man is arrogant, he will only fall and bleed. Li Si's eyes were sinister and vicious, releasing a light that was about to devour someone. What a joke. Seeing this, Dustless did not hide the contempt in his eyes. Naturally, he could hear the threat in Li Si's words. His classmate Han Fei was too talented and was envied by Li Si, resulting in his wrongful death in prison. All of this was related to Li Si. Although this fellow was the prime minister, in terms of bearing, he was truly lacking. Furthermore, this person was extremely narrow-minded and easily jealous. However, it was undeniable that Li Si was able to reach the position of prime minister, which meant that he had some ability. All right, the two of you, let's stop here. Fu Su waved his hand. Seeing that Dustless was not afraid of Li Si, his face was filled with unconcealable surprise. Ordinary people would not even dare to breathe loudly in front of Li Si. Li Si looked like a cultured person on the surface, but do not forget that he had a net in his hands. In reality, he was also a person with muscles. This brat has caused me to lose face time and time again. I have to find a chance to get rid of him. Seeing that Dustless did not show any signs of anger, Li Si's livid face slowly recovered. He hated Dustless to the core. Ever since he met this brat, he had been unlucky. Just thinking about it made Li Si feel unlucky. Especially when Li Si lost the Yellowstone Heavenly Scripture. In the last competition, he was even scolded by Ing Zheng. Just thinking about it made him clench his teeth in anger. If he could give a treasure like the Yellowstone Heavenly Scripture to Ing Zheng, then his position as the Prime Minister would be much more stable. Chapter 1856. Li Si and Dustless suddenly engaged in a battle of words, causing everyone to jump in fright. Especially the head of the Confucian school, Fu Nian, who felt uneasy. Even though he was happy to slap Li Si's face, Dustless's actions were no different from setting himself on fire. After all, Li Si was the Prime Minister. You want to fight with me? I'll kill you. Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, Dustless finally sat down. His magnanimous appearance was very carefree, completely opposite to Li Si, who was so angry that the veins on his forehead were popping. Everyone looked at each other in astonishment. At such a young age, you're indeed a dragon among men. Fu Su's deep and bright eyes circled around Dustless. His face was filled with unconcealable surprise. Dustless's age was really too young. He looked to be around 17 or 18 years old, but his bearing was extraordinary. Especially when he was on par with Li Si, it blinded everyone's eyes. In this ancient era, there was a popular saying, "The people do not fight with the officials." Furthermore, the other party was Li Si, a true prime minister. In the entire Great Qin Empire, his position was second only to Qin King Ing Zheng. Although Fu Su's status was higher than Li Si's, he did not have any real power. A mere disciple of the Confucian school dared to offend the current prime minister. In the eyes of some people, Dustless was a classic example of courting death. They hoped that Li Si would give him a stab. If not for Zichen saving me, I would have been killed by those bandits. The reason why I am still alive today is all because of Grandmaster. Fu Su bowed slightly after he finished speaking, his expression filled with gratitude. This brat. What ability does he have to make young master think so highly of him? In truth, Li Si was rather jealous. This was the first time he had seen Fu Su address someone as Grandmaster. You're too polite. I just saw injustice on the road. Dustless did not mind and only smiled. He had a good impression of Fu Su. Despite his identity as the future successor of the Great Qin Empire, Fu Su's manners did not have the slightest bit of arrogance. Just like the rumors, he was very gentle. May I know where the Yellowstone Heavenly Book that Grandmaster obtained is? Fu Su impatiently asked when he thought of the special and important aspects of the Yellowstone Heavenly Book. This. Dustless frowned slightly and stopped moving his lips. He really didn't know how to answer. Let's see how you're going to escape this time. Young master is asking you for the Yellowstone Heavenly Book. Are you going to refuse? If you dare to refuse, I have countless reasons to deal with you. Seeing Dustless's distressed appearance, Li Si felt refreshed and an unconcealable smile appeared on his face. However, this joyous scene did not last long. After hearing Dustless's nonsensical reply, Li Si's heart almost jumped out of his chest. Well, to tell you the truth, I was attacked a few days ago and lost the Yellowstone Heavenly Book. Dustless pretended to be disappointed and ashamed, saying, "Those people are extremely powerful and well-trained. They look like men of sacrifice. I managed to severely injure one of them, but the Yellowstone Heaven Book was also taken away by them." Really? Hearing this, Fu Su was first taken aback and then said angrily, "You dare to rob in broad daylight? What a bastard! Li Si, what are you doing as the Prime Minister? Do you only care about enjoying your life?" "Young master." Li Si wanted to cry but no tears came out. Looking at the shocked and angry Dustless, he even had the thought of dying. This was all made up by Dustless. In these days he had sent people to observe Dustless and often lost him. How could there be anyone ambushing him? It was all nonsense. You dare to deceive young master. Although it is not a serious crime like deceiving the monarch, it is enough for you to suffer. Li Si's cold gaze swept over Dustless. Just as he was about to expose him, he saw Dustless's cunning eyes and his heart skipped a beat. Without waiting for Li Si to explain, Dustless took the initiative to attack Li Si. Young master, to be honest, a few days ago, when I lost the Yellowstone Heavenly Book, I killed one of them. Those people seemed to belong to the same organization, and all of them had the mark of a spider on their necks. Wu Chen's eyes were sparkling, and his determined tone made people involuntarily convinced. But after hearing Wu Chen's deceptive explanation, Zhao Gao, who had been silent all this while, lost his self-control and spat out the hot tea that he had just drunk. Zhao Gao, do you know the organization that Master Zichen spoke of? Seeing Zhao Gao's abnormal behavior, Fu Su instinctively asked. Then he said, such an arrogant organization, we cannot easily let them go. Zhao Gao stood up and coughed awkwardly. Cough, cough, cough. Young master, that organization is actually a trap. Zhao Gaozhen shifted his gaze and saw Wu Chen, who was grinning evilly. Zhao Gaozhen wished he could slap him. He had indeed sent a net to ambush Wu Chen, but it had failed in the end. But, glancing coldly at Dustless, Zhao Gao coldly said in a loud voice, Zichen is extremely strong. At that time the people of the Luo net did not steal the Yellowstone Heavenly Book. Young master, he is completely making things up. Please punish him. Magistrate Zhao Gao's official position, don't lie through your teeth. The Yellowstone Heavenly Book was obviously snatched away by you. Now you want to frame me? If you want to prove that the Yellowstone Heavenly Book is still in my hands, please take out your own evidence. Dustless said calmly. This damned brat, how dare he be so arrogant? Hearing this, Zhao Gao's cold face was filled with a bone-piercing killing intent. He finally understood how depressed Li Si was. In the past he thought that Dustless was only strong. He did not expect that his sharp tongue was even stronger than his martial arts. Evidence? The Luo net never needed evidence. Where could he find it? Chapter 1857. Zhao Gao's net never knew what evidence was. If they felt suspicious, they would directly capture them. If they resisted, they would directly kill them. Naturally, there would not be any evidence. Humph. Fu Su snorted heavily as he glanced at Zhao Gao with a fiery gaze. Brat, I will let you know the price of angering me. Seeing this, Zhao Gao could only lower his head in shame. On the surface, he did not dare to show his anger. However, in his heart he hated Dustless to the core. All along it was their net that splashed dirty water on others. Since when was there someone so daring to offend them? The people from the Confucian faction also felt that it was a fantasy. Young Master Fu Su actually reprimanded his two generals for a mere Zichen. This caused the people from the Confucian faction to be shocked, and some even looked at Dustless with jealousy. What ability did this brat have to be able to hug young Master Fu Su's thick thigh? Sigh. Actually, Fu Su's heart was also filled with helplessness. Even though he knew that Dustless was being crafty, he did not have a plan to deal with him. Firstly, Dustless was his benefactor, and secondly, he did not have any evidence. Instead, it was Zhao Gao and Li Si who actually dared to spy on him, and even dared to openly rob him. Furthermore, they were caught by Dustless and reported back. In Fu Su's eyes, they were too useless. Everyone. At this moment, a slightly gloomy and calm voice came, which attracted everyone's attention at once, including Wu Chen, who also felt that this strange and cold voice was somewhat familiar. Actually, you only need to hand this Zichen over to me and use the mind-reading technique to test him. This way, we will be able to find out if the Yellowstone Heavenly Book has been stolen. This voice sounded extremely young, but no one dared to underestimate it. Xing Han from the school of Yinyang. The people from the Confucian faction all became nervous. Everyone had heard of Xing Han, one of the two great imperial advisors of the Qin kingdom. No. As soon as Xing Han finished speaking, Zhang Liang stood up to confront Dustless. Of course, it was not because he sympathized with Dustless. If possible, Zhang Liang would rather have this mysterious fellow killed immediately. However, Dustless was a disciple of the Confucian school, and was wearing Confucian robes. Furthermore, he was living in the sage manner. If Xing Hun found out that he was spouting nonsense, the consequences would be unimaginable. It was one thing for Dustless to die, but the Confucians would also be implicated and suffer greatly. This kid's injuries are recovering very quickly, but why did this woman appear? Dustless merely glanced at Xing Hun out of boredom. His gaze was focused on the woman behind Xing Hun. When he saw her appearance, his eyes narrowed. As for Xing Hun himself, he was completely ignored by Dustless. After all, he was just a loser. There was nothing worth paying attention to. Wasn't she imprisoned by the Yin family? Why was she suddenly released? It seems like they brought her to the Confucians to cause trouble. Standing on Xing Hun's left was young Master Ming from the Yin family. On his right was an unexpected person. She was known as the first extraordinary lady of the Yin family, and was Yuer's mother, Concubine Yen. At this moment, Concubine Yen was dressed in a palace gown. Her beautiful face was slightly haggard, and there was an unconcealable sadness in the depths of her eyes. She sometimes showed resistance towards the young Xing Hun in front of her, but for some reason, she just lowered her head and stood silently beside Xing Hun. It seems like they have reached some kind of agreement, but with Xing Hun's authority, he can't release Concubine Yen. He must have reached some kind of agreement with the boss of the Yin family, Dong Huangtai. Dustless was deep in thought. Concubine Yan's sudden appearance had indeed caught him off guard. That's strange. Have I seen this kid somewhere before? Why does he look so familiar? Xing Hun glanced at Zichun from the Confucian family in surprise. He felt like he had seen him before. The strangest thing was that his wound, which was almost healed, started to hurt again. It was extremely strange. Idiot Zichun is Dustless. Dustless seemed to have sensed Xing Hun's confusion, and smiled without saying anything. At the same time, he glanced at young Master Ming, who was beside Xing Hun, and smiled in a friendly manner. Humph. However, young Master Ming did not appreciate his kindness. She only snorted softly and glanced over. Really, it seems like this little woman is still holding a grudge. Dustless spread his hands and did not know whether to laugh or cry. Indeed, it was right not to provoke a woman. Zifeng, what's wrong with that? If you don't do anything wrong, you don't have to be afraid of ghosts knocking on your door. I'm just checking your memory. Xing Hun looked at Dustless and said nonchalantly, on the contrary, if you keep resisting, you'll seem humble. Haha. Seeing this, Wuchen just laughed twice and said something shocking. There's absolutely no problem to take a look at my memory. I've always been an easygoing person, but as the saying goes, there's an order to everything. Didn't I say before that the Confucian family values seniority and seniority? So, if I were to check my memory, it would be the Prime Minister and the Prefect of the carriage, Zhao Gao, who came first, right? You brat, don't go too far. Seeing that Dustless had dragged him into this again, Li Si was instantly enraged. How could he tolerate being ridiculed by a little brat? Moreover, what puzzled him the most was that Dustless's words made sense. It was obviously unfair to just check Dustless's memory. With Fu Su's personality, he would definitely let Li Si, Zhao Gao and Dustless come together. However, everyone had their own secrets. If Xing Hun were to check his memory, wouldn't that be terrible? Chapter 1858. Zhao Gao's face turned green. He was even more concerned about this than Li Si. He could not allow Xing Hun to read his mind. Otherwise, his greatest secret would be exposed. Many years ago, Zhao Gao had already pledged his allegiance to Hu Hai and even secretly planned to get rid of Hu Hai. This way, Hu Hai would be able to take over Hu Hai's position in the future, and he, Zhao Gao, would be able to ascend to the top in one step. It was better to be safe than sorry. What if Xing Hun found out? Mind reading is not reliable. Young master, I object. Glaring coldly at Dustless, Zhao Gao rejected loudly. Furthermore, the school of Yinyang are all sorcerers of the pugilistic world. The Prime Minister is very busy every day. It would be bad if the secrets that he is handling for the Empire were exposed by the school of Yinyang. You are right. Mind reading is not appropriate. Li Si hurriedly rejected as well. If both of you reject, then we can just muddle through. However, I am afraid that no one will know the whereabouts of the Yellowstone Heavenly Book in the future, Xing Hun said nonchalantly. You win. Li Si and Zhao Gao both hated Dustless. Because of this fellow, they could not avoid being scolded. It was simply an unlucky year. They must have not checked the almanac when they went out and met Dustless, this jinx. They hated Dustless to the core. May I know why young master is here today? Seeing that everyone had taken their seats, Fu Nian sighed inwardly. He said respectfully to Fu Su, if the empire needs the school of Confucianism, we will do our best. That is good. Hearing this, Fu Su was overjoyed. His impression of the school of Confucianism also improved. It is indeed the same as the legends in history. Seeing Fu Su's friendly appearance, Dustless suddenly recalled some memories of Fu Su from his previous life. Compared to Ying Zheng, who ruled the world by force, Fu Su was much more benevolent. He also agreed with the teachings of the school of Confucianism. However, due to some people's interference, Fu Su was forced to commit suicide. The masterminds were the two bowing Li Si and Zhao Gao. In history, it was the two of them who conspired to kill Fu Su and Great General Meng Tian, supporting Hu Hai to ascend to the throne. I won't hide it from you. Recently, there have been many rebels in Shanghai. Among the 100 schools of thought, the Confucian school is ranked at the top. If they are willing to help, the remnants of the school of Moism will have nowhere to hide. Fu Su's tone carried a hint of pleading as he continued. The empire will definitely not forget little saint's kindness. This is bad. Hearing this, Zhang Liang sighed inwardly. He stared at Fu Nian, the leader of Shaoxingxian Manor, and became nervous for a moment. There's going to be a good show. Dustless, who had been observing the changes in Zhang Liang's expression, revealed an imperceptible smile. The situation of the Confucian school was a bit special. Inside there were 3 people in charge. Fu Nian was the leader of Shaoxingxian Manor, the second in charge was Yan Lu, and the third in charge was Zhang Liang. Within the Confucian school, they were not monolithic. At least, Zhang Liang was the only one who supported the school of Moism. Yan Lu only helped Zhang Liang at ordinary times. As for the leader, Fu Nian, he was actually more inclined to the Qin state. In the original work, when Fu Nian learned that Tianming and Shaoxing were rebels, he was so angry that he even quarreled with Zhang Liang. During this time, Yan Lu helped Zhang Liang. The angered Fu Nian almost expelled Yan Lu from the Confucian school if Sun Zi did not plead for mercy. Although Zhang Liang is a member of the Confucian school, fundamentally, he supports the school of Moism. It's really funny. Maybe the burning of books and burying of Confucianism in the future was caused by this guy. Seeing the tense Zhang Liang, Dustless could not help but shake his head. The leader of the Confucian school, Fu Nian, had a good character. He wanted to carry forward the teachings of the Confucian school. This was not a big mistake. It was human nature. However, Zhang Liang, who was a hindrance, colluded with the Confucian school. It was destined that Fu Nian's dream would come to nothing. Not only that, but he would also suffer the revenge of the Qin state in the future. Success and failure were because of Xiaohe. The fame of the Confucian school was inextricably linked to Zhang Liang. In the future, when the Confucian school was slaughtered, Zhang Liang still had an inescapable relationship. The current situation was different. In the original work, because of Zhang Liang's collusion with the school of Moism, Fu Nian gave up the idea of relying on Fu Su. Now it was different. Fu Nian did not know that Zhang Liang had colluded with the school of Moism. He who wanted to carry forward the teachings of the Confucian school was about to fall to Fu Su. What made Fu Nian most happy was that Fu Su valued the Confucian school. I'm so angry. Zhang Liang was having a hard time. In his heart, he had always planned for the 100 Schools of Thought Alliance to overthrow the Qin state, and the Confucian school was going to take the lead. But now, the leader of the Confucian school, Fu Nian, was about to fall to Fu Su. How could Zhang Liang be calm? Why? Seeing Zhang Liang's embarrassed appearance, Dustless chose to be a bystander and turn a deaf ear. To some extent, with Zhang Liang's personality, he was not suitable for the Confucian school, and was more suitable for joining the school of Moism. The Confucian school had rich contents. From an individual's perspective, There were benevolence, righteousness, etiquette, wisdom, faith, forgiveness, loyalty, filial piety, friendship, and other virtues. Zhang Liang's actions had already gone against these teachings. He even tried to overthrow the rule of the emperor, which was the topic that the Confucian school avoided the most. It was no wonder that in the original work, the angry Fu Nian wanted to punish Yan Lu, who covered up for Zhang Liang. Truth be told, the Sang pirates have been rampant recently. If the Confucian faction is willing to join in and help the empire wipe out the rebels, the Confucian faction will be under the rule of the empire in the future. Fu Su threw out the bait and tempted. Fu Su was indeed the future successor of the Qin state. He knew what Fu Nian wanted, which was to carry forward the Confucian school. Although Fu Su's promise was equivalent to an empty check, it was enough to make Fu Nian excited. If you knew that Zhang Liang was dragging you down, would you be so angry that you would vomit blood? Dustless had a strange expression. He could not help but imagine Fu Nian's furious appearance after knowing the truth. Chapter 1859. Some things were already destined. Zhang Liang's family was the prime minister in Korea for 5 generations. Since Korea was destroyed by the Qin state, it was destined that Zhang Liang could not help the Qin state as much as Fu Nian. Even in some aspects, Zhang Liang had to stand on the opposite side of Fu Nian. Zhang Liang is going to burn his ass this time. Looking at the anxious and gloomy Zhang Liang, Dustless laughed unscrupulously in his heart. Since there were some things that couldn't be ignored, Zhang Liang could only suffer from it. Young Master Fu Su, if you have anything to ask the Confucian school for help, just say it. Fu Nian said gently and elegantly. The Confucian school will do its best and work hard until the end. Then I'll be frank. Hearing this, Fu Su nodded happily and said bluntly, if possible, I hope Zichen can join me temporarily and be loyal to the empire. Dustless was stunned. When he was about to speak, he found that everyone's eyes were looking at him. Young master, you can't. Before Dustless could speak, some people stopped him. Looking closely, it was Zhang Liang, Li Si and Zhao Gao. The 3 of them were strangely standing in the same trench. Why not? Fu Nian and Fu Su frowned and asked. This. Zhao Gao and Li Si looked at each other. Both of them hated Dustless. If they became Dustless's confidants, how could they do anything to Dustless in the future? Moreover, this was not the most important thing. As everyone knew, Dustless was the eldest son of Ying Zheng and the future heir of the empire. If Dustless followed Dustless, then Zhao Gao and Li Si would be in trouble. As for Zhang Liang, that was even more unacceptable. Dustless was so powerful. If he was pushed to the Qin state's camp, wouldn't it be a disaster for the anti-Qin alliance? In Zhang Liang's view, Dustless should continue to be neutral and not help anyone. What are your plans, Zichen? Fu Nian suddenly looked at Dustless and said hopefully, if possible, I hope you can be young Master Fu Su's guard and protect his safety. *CK, Fu Nian isn't a good person either. Dustless wailed in his heart. This bastard actually wanted to sacrifice himself to seduce a rich man like Fu Su. After all, Fu Su was the future successor of the empire. It was normal for Fu Nian to have other thoughts. After pondering for a moment, Dustless decisively refused. Forgive me for being blunt, but I have no intention of becoming a bodyguard. Protect Fu Su? Dustless wouldn't mind giving it a try since he was bored anyway if there were any benefits. However, Dustless decisively rejected such a thankless task. A pity. Fu Su sighed in disappointment. Although he was the eldest son of Ying Zheng, sadly, he did not have any real power. Even the guards around him were Zhao Gao and Li Si's men, so it was normal for him to feel uneasy. Other than that, there is another important matter. It is a marriage. Fu Su was not depressed. He looked at Dustless and said directly, to be honest, due to the school of Yinyang's delay, I hope Zichen and Yinyang's young master Ming can become husband and wife. Dustless spat out the tea in his mouth when Fu Su said that. No problem, I will agree on behalf of Zichen. Before Dustless could say anything, Fu Nian agreed and looked at Dustless with a ferocious gaze, hinting him not to speak nonsense. What is going on? Zhang Liang was dumbfounded when he heard that. He looked at Fu Su in disbelief and then at the school of Yinyang. Their faces were calm. It was obvious that they had been informed beforehand. Even young Master Ming herself was calm as if everything had nothing to do with her. It was obvious that she had also known about it beforehand. Why did they choose Dustless to marry? This is impossible. There is no reason at all. Zhang Liang's brain cells sped up as he thought. Could it be that they saw through Zichen's disguise as Dustless? That is also impossible. If they really saw through it, the Little Saint Manor would have been surrounded by the Qin army. Could it be that they value his shocking potential and want to pull him into the school of Yinyang? Zhang Liang's heart raced as he thought about the school of Yinyang's intentions. However, after thinking about it carefully, it was not possible. If they valued Dustless's potential and worth nurturing, they could have just snatched him away. If it was a marriage alliance, the meaning and implications would be too great. Furthermore, it was Fu Su who had spoken. What did this mean to a certain extent? It meant that the school of Yinyang wanted to form an alliance with the school of Yinyang. If the school of Yinyang and the school of Yinyang become allies of the state of Qin, then the 100 Schools of Thought alliance will become a laughingstock. The 100 schools of thought will collapse on their own. Realizing the danger and seriousness of this matter, Zhang Liang was about to speak up to stop it when Fu Nian's angry voice sounded out mercilessly. Zifang, shut up. Fu Nian naturally knew what kind of person Zhang Liang was after being his senior brother for more than 10 years. When he spoke, nothing good would come out of a dog's mouth. He would definitely want to ruin this marriage. Serves you right. Who asked you to be a busybody? Who asked you to be sinister and like to cheat others? This is retribution. Dustless glanced at Zhang Liang with schadenfreude. He also vaguely guessed the school of Yinyang's intentions. Sacrificing young Arbiter Ming could pull the strongest school of thought, the school of thought, into their camp. This deal was very worth it. Without the support of the school of thought, the other forces might collapse on their own. It was also normal for Fu Nian to accept this marriage alliance. As everyone knew, the state of Qin was in control of the world, and the school of Yinyang was an important guest of Yingzheng. If the school of thought could become allies with the school of thought, the status of the school of thought would naturally rise. Young Master Fu Su also appreciated Dustless. In the future, the school of thought would dominate the world. Just thinking about it made Fu Nian extremely excited. Put away your cunning thoughts. Don't forget that the head of the school of thought is me. Looking at Zhang Liang with a cold gaze, Fu Nian silently conveyed his meaning, which was to let Zhang Liang speak less and just watch. Chapter 1860. What does this have to do with me? Wu Chen was secretly speechless. He had a feeling of being ket up. If you want to get married, then so be it, but what does this have to do with me? Although young Master Ming was quite good-looking, anyone would be annoyed if someone arranged a marriage for them out of the blue. Besides, Dustless wasn't the kind of person who lacked love, nor was he the kind of person who was infatuated with women. However, Dustless wasn't that interested. Why did young Master Fu Su choose me? Wu Chen suspiciously glanced at Fu Su, then looked at young Master Ming, who was as calm as an ancient well. He saw her calm and peaceful expression, as if everything had nothing to do with her. Why can't I choose you? Fu Su asked in puzzlement. Then he said his true thoughts. You are about the same age, and Master Zichen and young Master Ming are both peerless geniuses. What's wrong with that? Dustless was speechless. Although Fu Su's reason was a bit rough, it was undeniable that it was a bit persuasive. A talented man and a beautiful woman were a good match. I still think it's a bit inappropriate. At this moment, Zhang Liang suddenly said, the two are not familiar with each other. Isn't it a bit inappropriate to have such a hasty marriage? Enough, Zifang. Fu Nian, who couldn't listen anymore, his old face darkened. He knew his junior brother's experience. Although he didn't show it on the surface, deep down, he definitely hated the Qin state. Zhang Liang's family in the past had 5 generations of prime ministers. There was no doubt that they were definitely the type of prominent officials. Now that the family was destroyed, and South Korea was gone with the wind, they were full of hatred for the Qin state. It was normal for them to be dissatisfied with the Confucian school joining the Qin state's camp. However, the head of the Confucian school was Fu Nian after all. He had to consider the overall situation. Naturally, he would choose whoever he followed. Although it was a bit snobbish, it was inevitable. What's more, loyalty to the king was the root of the Confucian school's doctrine. If the Confucian school led a rebellion, then they would inevitably lose their prestige in the future. This matter is decided by me. You can leave, Zifang. Waving his hand, Fu Nian was like an ice cube, exuding a cold chill. Zhang Liang was speechless. Looking at the cold light brewing in Fu Nian's eyes, he finally sighed helplessly and left. If he continued to pester, he was afraid that this senior brother would really go crazy. Ahem. I still have things to do, so I'll take my leave for now. Coughing awkwardly, Dustless planned to find a quiet place to rest for a while. However, Fu Nian didn't give him a good opportunity and grabbed Dustless. Brat, you have to agree even if you don't want to. What's wrong with sacrificing your body for the Confucian family? Fu Nian whispered into Dustless's ear, don't worry. After this marriage, the Confucian school will definitely not treat you unfairly. You won't treat me unfairly? Dustless rolled his eyes and turned a deaf ear to Fu Nian's words. It was completely equivalent to an empty check with no guarantee at all. But, changing the topic, Dustless secretly laughed and said inwardly, anyway, I'm bored. There's no harm in agreeing for the time being. I can take the opportunity to sow discord between Zhang Liang and Fu Nian, and finally expel Zhang Liang from the Confucian family. Dustless secretly laughed, then patted his chest and agreed heartily. No problem. For the future of the Confucian family, it's okay for me to suffer for the time being. Suffer for the time being? The others didn't change, but a trace of anger appeared on young Master Ming's beautiful face. Dustless's words made it sound like she was at a disadvantage. She wasn't a monster that couldn't be seen in public. If it wasn't for the Yinyang school this time. Just wait and see. Young Master Ming thought of the Yinyang school's plan, and could only glare fiercely at Dustless, then decisively extinguish the flame in her eyes. Sure enough, the Yinyang school's marriage plan isn't just for the alliance. I'm afraid there are other purposes. What exactly is that old fox Donghuang Tai planning? I'll ask Yueshan and Great Master Ming later. Let's play with young Master Ming for the time being. Dustless lowered his head and quietly observed young Master Ming. Seeing that she was enduring silently, he was relieved. Let nature take its course for the time being. Wait. You can't marry anyone from the Yinyang school. At this moment Xing Hun, who had been silent all this while, suddenly spoke. He glanced at Dustless and said, there are still some tests. Is that so? But let me tell you, I won't marry anyone casually. Dustless glanced at young Master Ming to convey this message. Young Master Ming's clear and beautiful face froze. The green leaves around them had already slowly floated over from all directions, and it looked like she was about to make a move. It's very simple to marry someone from the Yinyang school. You have to at least defeat young Master Ming. The Yinyang school doesn't need a useless person who looks strong on the outside, but is weak on the inside. Xing Hun glanced coldly at Dustless. It was obvious that he was implying that young Master Ming wanted to fight with Dustless. If that's the case, there's no need to proceed. Dustless shrugged and said disapprovingly, this is too boring. Let's change to something else. You intend to admit defeat? Xing Hun glanced at Dustless and said disdainfully, if you're not strong enough, just give up. I won't stop you. We've already competed before. I'm sorry young Master Ming lost. Dustless gave an answer that made Xing Hun speechless. He sneered disdainfully and said, I'm not interested in a loser. Let's stop here. The Yinyang school is just a small trick. Are you looking down on me? I've already lost once. How can I lose again? Young Master Ming snorted unhappily. She realized that Dustless was looking down on her. Just lost once? Some things can be changed, but some things can't be changed. Dustless stared at young Master Ming nonchalantly. His indifferent eyes were filled with silent contempt and calmness. Chapter 1861. Hearing Dustless's confident tone, the other members of the Confucian school did not mind. After all, They had already seen how powerful Dustless was. But Xinghan, who had always thought highly of himself, could not tolerate it. You think you're very powerful? Xinghan's face was cold as he said coldly, other than that guy, you're the second person to be as arrogant as you. That guy? Hearing this, Dustless's interest was piqued. He blinked and asked, is there someone like me in this world? This guy. Seeing Dustless's arrogant attitude, Xinghan's mouth twitched. A figure appeared in his mind. He looked at Dustless and said, that guy is Dustless. He's my archenemy. You? Archenemy? You think too highly of yourself. Hearing this, Dustless's face was full of mockery. Because he had disguised himself, Xinghan did not recognize that the Zichin he was talking to was Dustless. Fine, since the Yinyang school wants to have a duel, I'll accept it. But Dustless smiled at young Master Ming and said, don't cry when you lose. Do you think I'm a child? Young Master Ming's voice was full of confidence. Ever since she was defeated by Dustless, she had been practicing her inner strength, and her strength had improved. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Faint ripples appeared in the air. A vortex of vital energy appeared at the tip of young Master Ming's finger. With a flick of her finger, a large number of leaves were drawn over by her power. The leaves formed a green whip that could be seen clearly. It was worth mentioning that young Master Ming exerted strength in her arms this time. Her snow-white wrists extended out of her sleeves, revealing her pure white skin. Her clean and flawless arms were as white as snow. Lecher. When she saw Wu Chen staring fixedly at her, Xiaoxi Ming snorted lightly, and a wisp of a strange ripple flashed through her heart. It was the first time she'd been stared at in a daze by someone like this, so she couldn't help but feel slightly uncomfortable. This time, I'll make sure you understand how extraordinary the school of Yinyang is. Xiaoxi Ming's pair of beautiful eyes slightly narrowed, emitting a cold beam of light. She crossed her arms abruptly, and right after that, the pair of viper-like green, long whips wrapped around Dustless's body from both sides. With all due respect, Dustless looked at the green leaf whip carefully. He lost interest and said in boredom, although its power is stronger than last time, its essence hasn't changed. It's still as superficial. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At the same time, the sharp green leaf whip also swung over and went straight for Wu Chen's face. Upon seeing this, Dustless stood still. His handsome face raised a faint smile of victory, and the spiritual pressure in his body slightly erupted. Boom boom boom. Although it was only a weak trace of spiritual pressure, the movement it created was incomparable. Ka ka ka. The ground he stepped on instantly exploded, and the dense cracks were shocking to the eye. The explosion of the air wave attacked the green leaf long whip that surrounded him. Ka ka ka. The berserk spiritual pressure, in a crushing manner, tore the attacking green leaves to shreds, turning them into gravel-like granules that scattered all over the ground. How about this? Dustless's calm gaze swept across Xinghan and Xiaoxi Ming's faces. He said indifferently, Xiaoxi Ming, your strength has indeed improved, but your luck isn't too good. You picked the wrong enemy. I won't give up. Upon hearing this, Xiaoxi Ming bit her lips and clenched her fists tightly. She looked at Dustless with great reluctance. Not bad. Xinghan nodded expressionlessly, but a storm was brewing in his heart. He was very wary of Dustless's strength. Due to the fact that he was too fast, he didn't know what was going on. Are you all so bored? Fusu, you called me here just to watch children fight? Moreover, the performance of the school of Yinyang is really disappointing. At this moment, an ethereal voice appeared out of nowhere and landed in everyone's ears. This crisp and pleasant female voice could be identified as a girl, even if one closed their eyes. However, what was hard to understand was that there was no one else around except for Xiaoxi Ming. Could it be? Wu Chen's spirit was refreshed. In his mind, an immortal-like, ethereal and untouchable young girl suddenly appeared. So it's Master Xiao Meng. You're finally here. However, you seem to be late. The banquet has already ended. Fu Suning looked at the light figure floating in front of her. There was a rare trace of apology in her tone. It wasn't hard to see that Fu Suning respected this person. That's good. I'm not interested in children's fights. The light figure slowly walked over, getting closer and closer. Within the fog, one of the beautiful figures was faintly discernible, appearing extremely ethereal. It even gave people the illusion that this person was riding a cloud. She was right in front of them, but it felt like gold was on the horizon. People of the Confucian school, where is your Grandmaster Sun Zi? A few seconds later, the mist stopped in the middle of the hall. A young girl with a breathtaking appearance suddenly appeared. This person had a pair of slender white legs that looked like the most perfect masterpiece of the heavens. Her appearance was also impeccable, with a natural arrogance. Her deep eyes were filled with wisdom, as if she had seen through the past of the mortal world. She was surrounded by immortal qi and her aura was extremely powerful. Facing such a young girl, everyone would feel a sense of inferiority. Is this Master Xiaomeng? She's really arrogant. Dustless gave her a thumbs up secretly. He was sincerely impressed by Master Xiaomeng's temperament. Yuexin and Xiao Ximing were the type that stood aloof from worldly affairs. They were elegant and refined. Great Ximing was cold and piercing like a snow lotus. However, Master Xiaomeng had a fairy-like temperament. Her bright eyes were filled with unusual wisdom. Nothing could escape from her eyes. Just as Dustless was sizing up Master Xiaomeng, the latter suddenly looked over. Chapter 1862. What do you want? Everyone was trying to figure out Xiaomeng's intentions. It was really inappropriate for the head of a heavenly sect to stare at a Confucian disciple, without moving. Is this the head of the heavenly sect, Xiaomeng? Xing Hun looked at Xiaomeng with some apprehension, and deliberately revealed some hostility. However, the latter did not care about Xing Hun at all, and completely ignored him, as if he was air. Despicable woman. Seeing this, Xing Hun withdrew his hostility. After all, Xiaomeng was Fu Su's guest. Picking on her was equivalent to finding trouble with Fu Su. What's the matter? After a while, Dustless saw that Xiaomeng was just looking at him quietly. She did not release any hostility or attack. She just stared at him motionlessly like a block of wood. Nothing. Xiaomeng just responded faintly. Then, she looked at Dustless meaningfully and said, I heard that your moves are very strange. Even an expert like the six-sword slave was defeated. Today, I see that you live up to your reputation. Master Xiaomeng, you're exaggerating. Dustless politely cupped his hands. His eyes rolled as he pursed his lips and said apologetically, I still have something to deal with. Forgive me for not keeping you company. I'll take my leave for now, everyone. As his voice faded, Dustless swaggered off. Wait. At this moment, Xiaomeng suddenly stopped Dustless from leaving and said, Today's visit to the Confucian sect can't be fruitless. If Sun Zi is not here, the person who will discuss Taoism with me will be replaced by you. Hearing this, Fu Nian's expression changed drastically. He quickly interrupted and said, Senior, Zichen is just a junior. He is illiterate and only knows some basic martial arts. Illiterate? Everyone was shocked. The Confucian sect's knowledge was well known. A Confucian disciple might not be extremely knowledgeable, but at least he was not illiterate. Are you trying to bully me? Xiaomeng pursed her thin lips. She did not believe it either. Her eyes narrowed and emitted a dangerous light. Don't feel strange, this is an undeniable fact. Dustless shrugged and scratched his head awkwardly. I really can't read. Sorry, goodbye. As soon as he finished speaking, Dustless hurriedly fled. Fighting was fine, but those literary things were really not his forte. Moreover, this matter had nothing to do with him at all. Xiaomeng had already named Sun Zi, so Dustless did not need to act like a rash youth. Moreover, there was still Fu Nian. Phew. The air outside is still fresh. Dustless walked out of the reception hall and breathed in the fresh air. He stretched his body and looked up at the blue sky with a lazy expression on his face. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. A gentle breeze suddenly blew over. Dustless paused for a second. Then he turned around and saw young Master Ming with her purple hair fluttering in the wind. You're really haunting me. Even if you have an engagement, there's no need to be so serious. Dustless looked helpless. He stared at young Master Ming for a moment and said bluntly, What is the purpose of your Yin Yang school? Forgive me for being blunt, but I find it hard to believe that you have a marriage alliance without any reason. You're quite smart. Young Master Ming's calm eyes flashed with surprise. She said bluntly, the Yin-Yang school does not want to form an alliance with the Confucian sect. Instead, it wants to devour the Confucian sect from its roots. In other words, it needs a suitable representative to rule the Confucian sect and become its subsidiary. Is that so? So they sent you here? Dustless was extremely calm. He had long known that the Yin-Yang school's motive was not simple. Can I understand it this way? Dustless's eyes lit up. The Yin-Yang school needs a suitable representative, and you feel that I have a bright future, so you chose me and hope that I can replace Fu Nian's position in the future? You're very smart. Hearing this, Xiao Ximing nodded noncommittally and said, then what are your plans? If you sincerely want to be affiliated with the Yin-Yang school, we can help you secretly kill Fu Nian and help you take the position. In the future, the head of the Confucian school will inevitably be you. After you and I get married, your status will inevitably rise, and everything will be logical. Sounds good, but I'm more concerned about what will happen if I refuse? Dustless asked with a smile. Will the Yin-Yang school kill me immediately? That's not it. It's completely unnecessary. Young Master Ming shook her head elegantly and said with a calm and confident tone, if you refuse, then let nature take its course. According to the Yin-Yang school's arrangement, I will still marry you. In the future, we can still slowly devour the Confucian sect, but the time will be much slower. Is that so? The Yin-Yang school is really calm. Dustless sighed and then left in boredom. He said, then you can wait. I'm not interested in the position of the head of the Confucian sect. You're a disciple of the Confucian sect. Shouldn't everyone yearn for Fu Nian's position? Young Master Ming frowned and chased after Dustless. She stood side by side with him. The position of the head of the Confucian sect is admired by everyone in the world. It's as dazzling as the stars. It's because it's too dazzling that I'm not interested. I don't have any great ambitions. I'm not interested in leading the Confucian sect and carrying it forward. Dustless shook his hand. These words were completely from the bottom of his heart. It was really tiring to be a boss. This was what Dustless learned from his experience in several worlds. I see. I'm suddenly interested in you. As a disciple of the Confucian sect, you don't care about the position of the head of the Confucian sect. It's really puzzling and curious. A short while later, young Master Ming abruptly said something that sounded weird. Chapter 1863. Curious and puzzled? Young Master Ming's answer left Dustless speechless. A Confucian disciple giving up the position of sect master was indeed a fantasy. After all, that position was once fought over by countless Confucian disciples. If you're curious and puzzled, I feel that you're even more difficult to figure out. Dustless looked at young Master Ming, whose face was covered by a veil, and felt somewhat surprised. Including this meeting, he and young Master Ming had only met twice, and their relationship was not good. Especially in the last competition, when Dustless defeated young Master Ming, and this time, it was the same. As a proud daughter of the heavens, young Master Ming was probably traumatized by it. But at this moment, young Master Ming had completely forgotten the past, and was even willing to sacrifice himself and the Confucian alliance. Dustless could not help but think of a saying, the parent's orders, the matchmaker's words. Both sides of the marriage have no right to choose. This was the case for ancient people when they got married and had children. They had no right to choose. So obedient. Seeing young Master Ming, who did not even blink, as if everything was as it should be, Dustless smacked his lips, but he still remained silent. The thinking of a modern person was completely different from that of the ancient people. Some of the views of modern people were deviant in the eyes of the ancient people. On the contrary, in the eyes of Dustless, the thinking of the ancient people was also inflexible in the eyes of modern people. Take young Master Ming in front of him for example. She was asked to marry, and the person was an enemy with whom she had a grudge. However, young Master Ming did not say a word because of the orders of the school of Yin-Yang. In Dustless's eyes, she was really stubborn. On the contrary, young Master Ming's behavior was normal in the eyes of the ancient people, such as Fu Nian and the others. I said that I have something to deal with. Forgive me for not accompanying you. Cupping his hands, Dustless brushed past her. Wait, from now on, you're not allowed to hide anything from me. Her body trembled slightly, and like a shadow, young Master Ming once again blocked in front of Dustless. Ha! Hearing this, Dustless subconsciously cried out, and said in confusion, "This is just a deal. You don't have to be so serious. Just put on an act, I won't make things difficult for you. As for the marriage, you don't have to be." No. Unexpectedly, before Dustless could finish his sentence, Xiaoxi Ming's tone was no longer as aloof as before. She repeated, "This is His Excellency East Emperor's order, not a real show. No matter what, the school of Yinyang and the school of Confucianism must be connected through marriage. As long as you and I get married, the school of Yinyang will be able to easily crush the school of Confucianism, which is the most powerful of the 100 schools of thought. When that time comes, the confidence of the other traders will be greatly affected, and they might even collapse." Young Master Ming's tone was several times louder than before. Her pretty face had a serious expression that had never been seen before. F***CK. Dustless was shocked after being stunned for a moment. He thought to himself, "This guy looks so serious. Does young Master Ming really want to have a wedding night with me? I'm afraid he's been brainwashed by the Yinyang family. Sigh, what a pity." Dustless opened his mouth, but swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. He stared at young Master Ming, whose face was covered by a veil, and said unhappily, "You keep saying that I'm not allowed to hide anything from you, but you're wearing a veil when talking to me. Isn't this?" Before Dustless could finish his sentence, young Master Ming's sudden action stunned him. Young Master Ming took off the transparent veil on her face in a carefree manner, revealing a stunning face. Her jade-like face was flawless, and her facial features were even. Even if you used a microscope, you wouldn't be able to find any flaws. Her skin was fair, her skin was smooth, and her bones were jade-like. Her entire body exuded an ethereal aura, as if she was a fairy who had descended from the heavens. Young Master Ming's eyebrows were long and thin, and they were set in her eye sockets. Compared to them, the stars in the sky were like fireflies, not worth mentioning. I can't believe I got distracted while looking at a woman. After a while, Dustless, who had regained his senses, subconsciously slapped his forehead. If Xing Hun had ambushed him just now, perhaps he would have been beheaded already. Am I that ugly? Seeing Dustless's bitter smile, young Master Ming's hands tightened slightly. She blinked her eyes, seeming a little nervous. That's not it. You're perfect. Dustless shook his head like a rattledrum. He had seen countless beauties, and was a true veteran in the field of flowers. He was already immune to beautiful women, but when he saw young Master Ming's stunning appearance, he couldn't help but be stunned. If that's the case, I have nothing to hide from you now. You have to do the same. You're not allowed to hide anything from me in the future, young Master Ming said in a non-negotiable tone. We'll talk about it in the future. Dustless nodded perfunctorily. Young Master Ming's words went in one ear and out the other. Everyone, I'll cut to the chase. There's a new change. After Zhang Liang was chased away by Fu Nian from the Mo family's stronghold deep in the mountains, he rushed over without stopping to discuss countermeasures with the Mo family members and their new ally Lu Sha. The school of Yinyang wants to form an alliance with the Confucian family, and the disciples of both sides have already set a marriage contract. Zhang Liang's words made everyone frown. This won't do. If the Confucian family is absorbed by the school of Yinyang without any bloodshed, the anti-Qin forces will definitely suffer a heavy blow. Gao Jianli raised his eyebrows and said coldly, "We'll assassinate one of them and ignite the conflict between the two sides." That's right. No matter what, we can't let them get together. Otherwise, it will be a disaster for the world. Zhang Liang echoed. In fact, his plan was to assassinate one of them, and use this as an excuse to ignite the conflict between the school of Yinyang and the Confucian family. This way, they would return to being on opposite sides. Everyone, I already have a detailed secret plan, but I still need your help. Chapter 1864. Secret Plan. Hearing this, everyone's interest was piqued and they all looked at Zhang Liang expectantly. Although I am a member of the Confucian school, and I am the third master of the Confucian school, but I firmly oppose the Confucian school joining the Qing Kingdom's camp. However, I think you all know the situation inside the Confucian school. I am not the only one who has the authority. Above me there are two senior brothers. Zifang? What do you mean? Qi Lian couldn't help but ask. Her seductive eyes were filled with a rare confusion. From Zhang Liang's words, she smelled an unusual murderous intent. The people present were not idiots. They were all sly old foxes. After pondering over Zhang Liang's words, they understood what he wanted to say. Could it be that you want to kill your two senior brothers and replace them? The person who asked the question had silver hair and narrowed eyes. His whole body radiated a powerful aura that was extremely oppressive. Breathing was 10 times more difficult than usual. If Zhang Liang assassinated Fu Nian and Yan Lu, the third master of the Confucian school, he could also ascend to the position of the head of the Confucian school. Although I don't get along well with senior brother, there is no need to go to that extent. Zhang Liang just shook his head casually, but his eyes were particularly firm. Then how are we going to deal with the alliance between the Yin-Yang school and the Confucian school? Zifang, don't tell me you want to kill the Confucian disciple who married the Yin-Yang school? Old man Ban asked in disgust. Assassinating one's own people was really dirty. Master Ban, you must be joking. Hearing this, Zhang Liang just smiled bitterly and sighed. You may not know, but the Confucian disciple who married the Yin-Yang school's young master is dustless. What? Dustless? The people of the Mo family were stunned. They raised their voices in disbelief and panic. In other words, Dustless intends to join the Yin-Yang school? I don't believe it. Dustless is not that kind of person. Duan Murong was the first to stand up and oppose. Her bright eyes were as bright as the stars. She didn't believe that Dustless would betray the Mo family. At that time, I felt that he was suspicious. Ever since he appeared, the Mo family never stopped doing certain things. Gao Jianli immediately stood out and expressed a different opinion. Right, Ashwa? Gao Jianli looked at the Snow Lady expectantly. However, Gao Jianli was destined to be slapped in the face this time. That. Is there some misunderstanding? I also feel that Dustless is not that kind of person. Although he is a bit sloppy, he does things with principles. It was extremely rare for the Snow Lady to express her opinion of Gao Jianli, and this caused everyone to be astonished. One had to understand that Gao Jianli and the Snow Lady had always been inseparable in the past, and they would advance and retreat together. Now because of a Dustless, there was ambiguity, which really surprised everyone. Dustless, that kid. Seeing this, Gao Jianli's expression immediately changed, and his breathing became heavy. His right hand couldn't help but grab Yishui Han. The Snow Lady actually had a different opinion from him, and Gao Jianli couldn't help but place all the blame on Dustless. Ever since this kid had appeared, the hearts of the Mo family members had started to show signs of falling apart. The Snow Lady was still fine. Although she would sometimes change sides at the last minute, such as now, Gao Jianli still believed in her. In the Mo family, especially Duan Murong, it was as if she had been bewitched, and she had a kind of blind trust in Dustless. Everyone, please don't misunderstand. It wasn't Dustless who initiated the marriage with the Yin-Yang school. This time, the person who randomly matched the couple was young Master Fu Su. Zhang Liang mentioned an important person that no one expected. So what? Even if it was Dustless who rashly interfered, Dustless can't get away from this matter. Gao Jianli snorted coldly and didn't appreciate it. There are so many disciples in the Confucian school. Why did they choose Dustless? This is a question that deserves to be explored. I still believe in him. Duan Murong didn't care about Gao Jianli's doubts. She still believed that Dustless wouldn't harm the Mo family. However, deep in her eyes, there was an unprecedented sadness brewing. The marriage partner is the Yin-Yang school's young arbiter Ming? Duan Murong stared at Zhang Liang, her voice trembling. That's right. I heard that the marriage will be held in the Confucian school's Little Sage Manor, So I've decided to secretly kill young Arbiter Ming. This way, the Yinyang school will definitely be angry with the Confucian school. After all, she died in the little sage manner. Although Zhang Liang's voice was frivolous, it was as firm as a rock. It was clear that he was serious. But this way, the Confucian school will also be greatly harmed and will definitely be severely punished, Gunya said with a frown. Although Zhang Liang's plan sounded good, it would also harm the Confucian school. Zhang Liang was a member of the Confucian school, and now he wanted to harm the Confucian school. There's no other way. This is the only way I can think of right now, Confucius said. Fish is what I desire. Bear paws are also what I desire. If I can't have both, I'll give up the fish for the bear paws. Life is also what I desire. Righteousness is also what I desire. If I can't have both, I'll give up my life for righteousness. Zhang Liang spoke of the Confucian school's classics. It was clear that he wanted to give up on the Confucian school and walk down the path of darkness. Of course, it wasn't accurate to say that he was harming the Confucian school. According to Zhang Liang's understanding, he was using another method to save the Confucian school. He had always believed that the Qin state, which couldn't win the hearts of the people, would be destroyed sooner or later, and the Confucian school, which was attached to the Qin state, would also be destroyed sooner or later. As such, it was better to break up this alliance as soon as possible. It was worth it to pay a small price to part ways with the Qin state. Although the Confucian school would be affected to a certain extent, it wasn't a big deal. Fighting the Qin state wasn't a game, and some necessary sacrifices were inevitable. When Dustless and young Arbiter Ming get married, I'll tell you the time. At that time, we can all sneak into the little sage manor and kill young Arbiter Ming. Chapter 1865. Shaoxing Manor. Since Dustless agreed to ally with the Yinyang school, Fu Nian, who was overjoyed, decorated the Shaoxing Manor with red lanterns everywhere. It was very festive. Many places were also cleaned up. The Shaoxing Manor was full of joy. Those who didn't know would think that Fu Nian was married. However, it was normal. Fu Nian, who wanted the Confucian school to soar, had not achieved his goal yet. But the day when the Confucian school soared to the sky was finally closer. Among the 100 schools of thought, the strength of the Yinyang school was unquestionable. After the Confucian school formed an alliance with it, it was equivalent to an indirect relationship with the state of Qin. Because of Dustless, young Master Fu Su had a good impression of the Confucian school. When Fu Nian was dreaming, he had already seen the Confucian school of thought unifying the world and the golden age of literature. This word is pronounced as loyalty. Write it for me. In a certain room, Fu Nian taught Dustless how to read. It was particularly sad. The ancient characters were really difficult to write. Dustless said that it was stressful to look at them, let alone write them. What a monster! Seeing Dustless's cold sweat, Fu Nian's thoughts were subverted. Dustless's attainments in martial arts made even him, the head of the Confucian school, feel ashamed and amazed. However, as for literature, it was really not flattering. So far, Dustless couldn't even write his own name. Sometimes he even needed Tianming and Xiaoyu to write for him. Cough, cough, cough. Seeing Fu Nian fall into a reverie again, Dustless had to cough twice to pull his thoughts back to reality. Zichen, you have made such a great contribution to the Confucian school. I definitely can't treat you unfairly. Fu Nian stared at Dustless and finally nodded with satisfaction. It was fine if he didn't have talent in literature. In this chaotic world, if he wanted to live without worries, he still had to rely on his fists. Listening to your tone, it seems that you intend to give me benefits. Hearing this, Dustless's eyes lit up. He said respectfully, "It is my duty to take the lead for the Confucian school. In the future, if there is anything that I can do, I will not refuse." Not bad, you're worth teaching. Fu Nian nodded with a smile. Then, he thought of something. His eyes suddenly darkened. He said to himself, I hope that Zifang can be tactful. Don't make a big mess during this period of time. Otherwise, I can only do business according to the rules. Hee hee, you're destined to be disappointed this time. Hearing this, Dustless laughed coldly in his heart and decisively added fuel to the fire. Recently, Third Grandmaster has been in contact with some mysterious people. Most of them are not from the Confucian school, but from other sects in the Jianghu. Other sects. Hearing this, a cold light shot out from the depths of Fu Nian's eyes as he asked, "Where did you see it? How was that group of people? How strong were they? Do you know him?" Fu Nian asked a series of questions and looked at Dustless expectantly. This? With a sinister smile in his heart, Dustless pretended not to know. That group of people was very strange. There was a tall man with silver hair. I heard Third Grandmaster call him Wei Zhuang. There was also a woman with good strength who was good at playing with snakes. There was also a man who liked to be in the limelight, who could stand on the head of a bird. I don't know his name. Could it be? Hearing this, Fu Nian's face changed greatly. He quickly asked, "Is that woman called Qi Lian and Bai Feng?" "Yes, that's right." Suddenly slapping his forehead, Dustless said with great certainty, "Third Grandmaster often meets with them. I don't know what they are discussing. Perhaps they are discussing the future of the Confucian school." Dustless deliberately lowered his voice and looked at Fu Nian with a hidden meaning. "For the future of the Confucian school? If Zifang doesn't cause me a big trouble, it would be a blessing from the heavens." Fu Nian suddenly snorted and angrily smashed the teacup on the table. Then, under Dustless's gaze, he left angrily. There will be a good show to watch now. Wuxia followed with a lazy pace. If he didn't guess wrong, it was estimated that he was going to find trouble with Zhang Liang. At this critical moment, Zhang Liang, the third master of the Confucian school, didn't help. How could Fu Nian tolerate it? Zhang Liang was the third master of the Confucian school. It's best to kick Zhang Liang out of the Confucian school. Chuckling, Dustless also decisively followed. Anyway, he had nothing to do. Bang. Usually, there were only 4 figures in the reception hall, but the atmosphere was tense, especially Fu Nian, who was sitting in the master's seat. He looked down at the 3 figures below with a face full of fire. Of course, his eyes were mainly focused on the head of the young man in the middle. "Zifang, you actually colluded with the people of Quicksand? They are rebels of the empire." Fu Nian, a volcano that had been accumulating for a long time, erupted. As soon as he came up, he angrily scolded, "Bastard! Have you even forgotten the teachings of the Confucian school? You actually colluded with rebels. Do you want the Confucian school to become a laughing stock? As the third master of the Confucian school, you actually went against the teachings of the Confucian school. This is simply a great shame." The Confucian school paid attention to self-cultivation and was modest and gentle like jade. As the head of the Confucian school, Fu Nian was even more so. However, Zhang Liang's actions this time had indeed exceeded the limit of Fu Nian's tolerance, which was why Fu Nian was so angry. He had worked hard for the sake of the Confucian school. Not only did this deceitful junior brother not help him, but he also came to undermine him. How does senior brother know that I have dealings with Quicksand? Hearing this, Zhang Liang's face slightly stiffened. He subconsciously looked at Dustless standing on the left. Seeing the smile that was not a smile, a strong sense of foreboding quietly spread in his heart. "Senior brother, this is a rumor." After thinking about it, Zhang Liang decisively refused to admit it. Chapter 1866. Zhang Liang also had no choice. Some things could be admitted, but some things could never be admitted. Zifang. Lulu sighed. When he saw Zhang Liang's expression that it had nothing to do with him, he knew that he was faking it. He knew senior brother Fu Nian's temperament too well. Without absolute certainty, Fu Nian would never speak. This kid still won't admit it? Seeing this, Dustless looked at Zhang Liang in surprise and secretly laughed in his heart. "Idiot, everyone knows what you're thinking. Why do you have to pretend that you don't know and continue hiding?" "Rumor? What a good rumor." Fu Nian was so angry that he laughed. If Zhang Liang was willing to take the initiative to admit his mistake, he wouldn't be angry. After all, they were senior brothers, but Fu Nian hated people who pretended to be confused. This was obviously looking down on other people's IQ. Wind from an empty cave may not be without reason. Do you think I don't know your identity and background? Fu Nian snorted and angrily rebuked. You and Wei Zhuang have a subtle relationship. Your family has been the Prime Minister of Korea for 5 generations, and Wei Zhuang is a Korean noble. How dare you say you don't know each other? Hearing this, Zhang Liang frowned slightly and continued to quibble. Even if I know each other, so what? There is no evidence. I can't accept it if I collude with him in private. It doesn't matter if you accept it or not. Fu Nian shook his head and glanced at Zhang Liang. A straightforward person doesn't resort to insinuations. Zifang, I understand your inner thoughts, but I must tell you that I am the head of the Confucian school, not the gravedigger of the Confucian school. So, the marriage alliance between Zichen and the Yinyang school is already a done deal. Don't mention it again in the future. When it came to the marriage alliance, Fu Nian looked determined. Zhang Liang's face changed when he heard this. He couldn't help but rebuke. Senior brother, why are you helping the evildoer? The Qin state is insensitive. Yingzheng harmed the world to satisfy his own selfish desires. Confucianism can't ask a tiger for its skin. What a joke. At this moment, Fu Nian laughed contemptuously and said sarcastically, colluding with the Qin state is helping the evildoer. Isn't colluding with Wei Zhuang's Lu Sha to lead the wolf into the house? Hearing this, the corners of Zhang Liang's mouth twitched, and he expressed his opinion again. Fu Nian didn't show any weakness and fought back with words. Neither of them would easily admit defeat. Buzz buzz buzz. Like flies, the two of them spat at each other for more than 10 minutes before they finally stopped. Zichen, you tell Zifang what he did wrong. After a while, Fu Nian saw Dustless's comfortable appearance as if everything had nothing to do with him. Fu Nian decisively pulled Dustless into the water. That's none of my business. Hearing this, Dustless rolled his eyes. He could only bite the bullet and say, Yingzheng rules the country by law. Although the law is harsh, it is not without its benefits. Upon hearing this, Zhang Liang was stunned for a moment. Then he moved closer to Dustless's ear and said in a tone that only the two of them could hear. You once said that you were neutral. Why are you siding with Yingzheng now? You worry too much. Dustless gave Zhang Liang a comforting look and said in a weak voice, I'm just leaning with Qin state in my thinking. My fist is still neutral. Quibble, you're really shameless. Glancing at Dustless, Zhang Liang turned his head with great disgust. Think whatever you want. I'm just expressing my personal opinion. Freedom of speech is innocent. Wu Chen smiled carelessly and explained. The criminal law of the Qin state is very strict and has been criticized. This is also one of the fundamental reasons why the whole world is against the Qin state. But in fact, in my opinion, this is not a big mistake. Not wrong. Fu Nian was stunned for a moment before asking. Zichen, tell me your opinion. Zifang, listen to me clearly. Zichen was brought into Confucianism by you. Human nature is greedy. This is a natural habit that is difficult to change. If you don't impose restrictions, the evil shadow created is extremely fatal. Human nature must be controlled. Although Qin state's law is the most rigorous and harsh, it also restrains the greedy nature of human beings in a certain sense. It's ridiculous to be criticized as nothing by the 100 schools of thought. Dustless continued. What's more, looking at the countless years of history, from the birth of the first feudal dynasty, Xia dynasty until now, there have been countless outstanding emperors. But, which one of them didn't make mistakes? In contrast, Yingzheng has done a really good job. Let me ask you, how can a man not make mistakes? Yes, you're right. Fu Nian nodded and laughed in agreement. He gave Dustless a rare look of appreciation. These words really touched his heart. No man is perfect. Although Yingzheng was the first emperor in history, he was not a god. All human beings made mistakes. Moreover, Yingzheng's achievements were well known. He unified the 6 states and ended the era of division. Even if he was wrong, was it really necessary to hold on to other people's weaknesses every day? Overall, Yingzheng's achievements were greater than his mistakes. He was many times better than Xia Jie, King Zhou, King Yu of Zhou, and other absurd monarchs. Zifang, what else do you have to say? Glancing at the silent Zhang Liang, Fu Nian said in an extremely cold tone, "From now on, you are no longer the third master of Confucianism." Fu Nian suddenly said something shocking. His words stunned Yanlu, Zhang Liang, and Dustless. Then, Fu Nian's gaze fell on Dustless's head. His words made everyone's eyes drop. "Zichen, although you are young and illiterate, your knowledge is broad. In the future you will be the third master of Confucianism." Chapter 1867. Zichen, although you're young and illiterate, you're quite knowledgeable. In the future, you'll be the third master of Confucianism. When he heard this, Dustless felt like his brain wasn't enough to process it. Perhaps Fu Nian was joking with him. The atmosphere was silent for a while. None of the four spoke, but Dustless kept staring at Fu Nian. Finally, after a few seconds, he saw that Fu Nian still had a serious expression on his face. He finally confirmed that this guy was serious and definitely not joking. Fu Nian abolished Zhang Liang's position as the third master of Confucianism and promoted Dustless. The affairs of the world are truly unpredictable. Back then, it was Zhang Liang who brought me into Confucianism. Now my luck has changed and I've successfully counterattacked. Zhang Liang actually became my stepping stone. Zhang Liang looked at him in disbelief. Not to mention him, even Dustless thought that it was an illusion. From the time he entered Confucianism until today, Dustless had only joined Confucianism for a little more than a rainy day. However, the speed of his promotion made everyone blush with shame, especially now that he had taken Zhang Liang's position as the third master of Confucianism. From Fu Nian's resolute tone and resolute eyes, it could be seen that this wasn't an impulsive decision. "Senior brother, Zichen is still young. You can't." As Zhang Liang's good friend, Yanlu immediately began to support Zhang Liang. "Zifang is in the wrong, but he shouldn't." "Enough, second junior brother." With a wave of his hand, Fu Nian stopped Yanlu from continuing. "We are disciples of Confucianism, so we should think for Confucianism. From the moment we joined Confucianism, we were no longer people of the 7 nations. The country doesn't matter to us anymore. Since Zifang can't see through the past and wants to recover Korea, we can only temporarily take back your position as the third master of Confucianism. It won't be too late to return it to you when you repent." After glancing at Zhang Liang, Fu Nian finally left in a huff. In fact, Fu Nian was forced to do this. He still cared about this junior brother of his. However, the differences between the two were too great. Fu Nian wanted to form an alliance with the Yinyang school. In the future, the status of Confucianism would inevitably rise. With the power of Qin, it was only a matter of time before Confucianism flourished. Zhang Liang, on the other hand, wanted to overthrow Qin and recover Korea, which was 1,000 miles away from Fu Nian's plan. In the end, he could only strip Zhang Liang of his identity. This *T stirrer. He's getting his retribution. Wu Chen snickered in his heart as he stared at the absent-minded Zhang Liang. His eyes narrowed into a line, and then he patted Zhang Liang's shoulder before leaving with Fu Nian. "Zifang, you don't have to be sad. I'm just a little angry. When the weather is better, I'll plead for you." Looking at Fu Nian and Wu Chen leaving, Yanlu said encouragingly, "Don't worry, I'll always be on your side." "But it's useless." Hearing this, Zhang Liang could only smile bitterly and sigh in disappointment. "I know eldest senior brother's character. He wants to bring Confucianism to greater heights and become the leader of the 100 schools of thought. I can empathize with his thoughts, but neither the Qin Kingdom nor the School of Yinyang are the best choices. Why don't we ask Uncle Master Sun for help?" Yanlu's eyes lit up. "Uncle Master Sun?" Zhang Liang's spirit was lifted. Then he remembered the special relationship between Dustless and Sun Zi. He shook his head and denied. "That's even more impossible." Zichen gave his Yellowstone Heavenly Book to Uncle Master Sun to study. Uncle Master Sun will definitely stand on Zichen's side. And don't forget, Uncle Master Sun was the one who proposed the idea that human nature is evil. How can he overthrow his own theory now? Also, second senior brother, you've forgotten one thing. Uncle Master Sun cultivates both Confucianism and legalism. In history, Sun Zi cultivated both Confucianism and legalism. The current world was no exception. His disciples, Li Si and Han Fei, were the same. As expected, I've let a wolf into my house. How ironic. Looking at Dustless's gradually disappearing back, Zhang Liang looked up at the sky and realized that he had lost everything. The person who brought Dustless into Confucianism was himself, and the person who took away his status today was Dustless. TSK, the third master of Confucianism? It doesn't seem bad. There are no unnecessary trivial matters to deal with, and there's also an extraordinary identity. It's barely acceptable. Dustless followed behind Funyan, and did not dislike this identity. The third master of Confucianism did not have any real power, and was happy to be at ease. However, in terms of status and identity, it was higher than ordinary Confucian disciples. However, this guy is really cunning. Looking at Funyan's deep expression, Dustless smiled but did not say anything. Crippling Zhang Liang was not an impulsive and ignorant act. Funyan probably decided to give Dustless the identity of one of the three great families of Confucianism, after some contemplation. Dustless was just an ordinary disciple in Confucianism. Other than being powerful, his identity was very ordinary. However, young Master Ming was an elder of the Yinyang school. Her identity was not suitable, and it was inevitable that people would gossip. By giving Dustless the identity of the third master, he would also speak up for Confucianism in front of the Yinyang school in the future. After thinking for a while, Funyan gave the identity of the third master to Dustless. Funyan, to be able to become the head of the Confucian school, he is indeed a far-sighted person. Dustless sighed with emotion for a while, and then continued to follow Funyan. Although it was only a temporary marriage alliance, both sides had tacitly chosen an auspicious date. The most ridiculous thing was that in the next few days, Confucianism and the Yinyang school would arrange for Dustless and young Master Ming to marry, and then, the wedding night. This also meant that the two families had completely embarked on the path of an alliance. Chapter 1868. Zhang Liang was definitely the most pitiful person in this matter. Not only was he stripped of his status as one of the three great families, but the most tragic thing was that the person who replaced him as the third head was the rising star Dustless. The chances of him taking back his status and position was probably zero. Of course, if Zhang Liang was willing to repent and change, Funyan might return his status to him. However, Zhang Liang, the third head, would definitely become the fourth head. One day later in the evening, the stars dotted the sky and the moonlight shone like a plate. The mulberry sea was close to the sea, and the scenery at night was pleasant. However, the streets were empty. Not even a ghost appeared, let alone a person. Above the void, there was a large number of mechanical bats flying, monitoring the entire mulberry sea. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At this moment, a black shadow silently flashed by. Because it was so fast, only a faint sound could be heard. Even the shadow could not be seen clearly. It was as fast as lightning. Phew. After staying in the Little Sage Manor for so long, there is indeed something wrong with my head. The fresh air outside is still more suitable for me. A frivolous voice suddenly sounded. Looking closely, that unbelievably fast black shadow was actually Dustless, who had sneaked out for a walk at night. However, Dustless did not come out alone, but had a date with a beauty. You are as fast as always. On top of a tree, a beautiful figure stood steadily on the green leaves. Under the hazy moonlight, her slender and straight purple hair danced in the wind. That cold figure was easy to see. Looking up, it was the Yinyang school's young Master Ming. Why did you call me out? Staring at the cold and aloof young Master Ming, Dustless asked in surprise. The person who had asked him out tonight was the Yinyang school's young Master Ming. As for why she was entangled, Dustless did not understand. Since he was bored in the Little Sage Manor, he might as well sneak out. Of course there is. Don't forget, we will be getting married in a few days. It is necessary to get to know you. Young Master Ming said in a matter-of-fact tone. Really, she is different from the young Master Ming in my impression. Dustless let out a long sigh. Before he crossed over to this world, Xiao Ximing was a quiet girl in his eyes. But now, it seemed that this was not the case. She was quite honest. Of course, it was understandable that Dustless was a special case. Facing other people, young Master Ming remained silent. Speaking of which, if one day you suddenly discovered that your fiancé Ahem, that is me, had suddenly become the enemy of your Yinyang school, what would you do? Wu Chen changed the topic and asked expectantly. The man who was about to marry Xiao Ximing was Zichen, Dustless in disguise. It would only be a matter of time before he was exposed. By then Dustless and young Master Ming would become enemies again. Why ask such a question? Frowning her shapely eyebrows, Xiao Ximing looked at Wu Chen and gave an unexpected answer. Actually, it's not important. The key is your attitude. Attitude? Hearing this, Dustless felt strange. He asked, "What do you mean?" If you are willing to be loyal to the Yinyang school and have no second thoughts, you can naturally turn hostility into friendship. But if you insist on going against the current, you will definitely be crushed. Xiao Ximing told him the truth. It is indeed the style of the Yinyang school. Dustless smiled. But in his heart he did not agree. Want him to be loyal to the Yinyang school? That was impossible. It was more likely that the Yinyang school would submit to Dustless. But it was undeniable that the Yinyang school was a decent sect. They were quite open-minded and willing to take in an enemy. Dong Huangtai's attitude were indeed extraordinary. Normally, people would torture their captives to obtain useful information. Shoo shoo shoo. Right at this moment, an unusual weak ripple appeared in the air. Dustless also clearly felt an unusual bone-piercing coldness. Countless beams of cold light came from afar. They seemed to be some kind of sharp weapon like darts. However, what was strange was that those darts ignored Dustless, who was close to them, and went straight for young Master Ming, who was even further away. Sneak attack. Squinting his eyes, Dustless saw a few figures appear in the air. The first person that came to his mind was Zhang Liang, who was very concerned about this matter. The Confucian school and the Yinyang school working together was the most harmful to him. It was normal for this kid to want to kill Xiao Ximing. It doesn't seem to be Zhang Liang. Looking over, Dustless frowned and found that they were all unfamiliar faces. He thought it was Wei Zhuang's Lu Sha. Who would have thought that they were just passers-by? Shoo shoo shoo. Facing the incoming sharp weapon, young Master Ming calmly and gracefully tiptoed against the ground, easily dodging the incoming dark silhouette. Buzz buzz buzz. Not only that, Xiao Ximing immediately launched a counterattack. Countless green leaves came from all directions and condensed into a long green leaf whip according to Xiao Ximing's will. Xiao Ximing, don't kill these assassins. They still have some use. I want to see who is so daring to sneak attack us in the middle of the night. With a sinister smile, Wu Chen's left eye suddenly turned into a dark purple reincarnation Sharingan. 9 dark and mysterious Magatama hung above the eye socket. It looked very strange and neither fish nor fowl. Are you ordering me? Young Master Ming glanced at Wu Chen discontentedly, then snorted as if she didn't like it. However, the power in her hand was reduced, and the number of green leaves under her control was also reduced. Her power had decreased drastically. Chapter 1869. Wu Chen didn't say anything. He quietly looked at the attacking shadows. These assassins seemed to be skilled in their methods. Their cooperation was just right. Originally, everyone's strength was ordinary. However, after several of them cooperated with each other, the strength they displayed was amazing. Although it wasn't as exaggerated as the 6 sword slaves, it was enough to match an ordinary expert. Wu Chen stood still like a statue. This kind of thing could be left to young Master Ming. There was no need for him to get involved. He just needed to watch silently. If they aren't assassins sent by Zhang Liang, then who could it be? Dustless lowered his head and thought. Looking at the eyes of these assassins, his heart was slightly moved. Most of them looked ferocious, and their eyes were filled with determination and madness. These people seemed to be professional death warriors. The Mahis family deeply believes in the way of chivalry. The Mahis family wouldn't do something like training death warriors. Dustless rubbed his chin as he thought. His eyes were shining brightly. After spending some time with the Mahis family, he knew what kind of people they were. The Mahis family and the Confucian family were two of the most prominent schools in the world. The disciples of the Mahis family who were proficient in martial arts were called Mahist heroes. They followed the principle of love with impartiality, non-aggression, and were good at the construction of mechanisms. The disciples of the Mahis family were chivalrous and often used the Mahis family's secret techniques to defend the cities of other countries. They were the epitome of chivalry. Therefore, the chances of training these death warriors were very slim. Compared to them, Dustless squinted his eyes and guessed. These death warriors are like killing machines. They seem to be members of Zhao Gao's trap. Bang! An assassin was sent flying by Xiao Ximing's whip and landed beside Dustless's feet, spitting out blood. Yo, can you tell me who sent you? Seeing the assassin land beside his feet, Dustless greeted him with a smile. This idiot. Seeing this, the corners of Xiao Ximing's mouth twitched under the veil. You think he will tell you just because you asked him to? Do you think these assassins are children? Just because you gave them a piece of candy, they would run around in circles. Every one of them has a deadly poison in their teeth. If they fail the mission, they will drink the poison and commit suicide. The chances of capturing them alive are 0. If you want to ask them, hurry up. A faint energy ripple appeared around them, and Xiao Ximing slowly descended from the sky. Not bad. The death warrior who landed beside Dustless's feet laughed sinisterly. His face was purple. Obviously he was poisoned. But the only pity, I didn't drag you two to hell. You, Xiao Ximing, Xiao Ximing, Xiao Ximing's, Xiao Ximing, Xiao Ximing, Xiao Ximing. Seeing that this person was so stubborn, Wuchen didn't bother to talk nonsense. He grabbed his head with his right hand and activated Rinnegan's eye power, and began to extract his memory. What Xiaoxi? Seeing the evil Sharingan in Dustless's left eye, Xiao Ximing's body trembled unnaturally. She subconsciously looked away with a pale face. She felt uneasy when she looked into those mysterious eyes. Her heart felt like it was going to jump out of her chest. The hair all over her body stood on end, as if she had met her mortal enemy. TSK, it is indeed that sinister Zhao Gao and Li Si. The ability of these two to collude with each other is indeed extraordinary. After a long while, Dustless softly muttered as he revealed the mastermind behind the scene. Zhao Gao and Li Si? Aren't they on our side? Xiao Ximing slightly raised her eyebrows, opened her cherry lips, looked at Dustless suspiciously and asked, Did you make a mistake? The Yinyang school is an ally of the state of Qin. Allies? It was too comical. There were no absolute allies in this world. Only those who can benefit from each other can be regarded as true allies. The Yinyang school and the Qin state can only be regarded as using each other. Moreover, Zhao Gao and Li Si are extremely treacherous. The people they scam are their allies. Dustless said frankly. Zhao Gao and Li Si were both famous treacherous officials. Didn't Fu Su die because of them? It was undeniable that Zhao Gao was a treacherous official, but Li Si was a person with mixed reputation. This person did have extraordinary ability. Being able to become the prime minister of the state of Qin showed that Li Si was extraordinary. But as the saying goes, no one is perfect. Li Si also had his own goals and selfishness. Therefore, in the end, he and Zhao Gao caused the death of Fu Su and Meng Tian. Zhang Liang is an ally of the Mo family, right? But when the Mo family was in the mechanical city, he did nothing as he watched the Mo family's disciples get slaughtered by Wei Zhuang. Is this what an ally is? Dustless's words made Xiao Ximing speechless. She could only look at the former in a daze. In short, allies are used to scam and betray. What you said seems to make some sense. After a moment of silence, Xiao Ximing nodded as if she understood. In fact, she was not good at scheming. She was more concerned about her own strength. Zhao Gao and Li Si really put in a lot of effort to destroy the alliance between the Yinyang school and the Confucian school. But this is normal. Although their actions are too stupid and are no different from seeking death. Since the heavens let them live in this world, they have the right to struggle. The weak are innocent. But if he wants to recklessly challenge someone stronger than him, then he's courting death. Dustless's eyes surged with red light. He turned into a wild beast that chose people to devour. Xiao Ximing's chest tightened several times. Strange. Suddenly, Xiao Ximing thought of something. She stared at Dustless's left eye a few times and muttered to herself, "This guy's eye. I think I heard that someone from the Yinyang school had seen it before." Chapter 1870. It was no wonder that Xiao Ximing felt a sense of déjà vu. When Dustless beat up Xing Hun, he had used the Sharingan, and Xing Hun had reminded the school of Yinyang about it. However, there had been too many things recently, especially the fact that she was about to marry Zichun of the Confucian school. Xiao Ximing's heart was in a mess, so she didn't remember it. Pointing at the assassin whose head Dustless had grabbed, Xiao Ximing asked calmly, "You can search other people's memories?" "That's right." Wuxia nodded calmly and told him bluntly, "After I extract his memory, he will completely die. The consequence of his soul being damaged is quite serious. If he is lucky, he will become an idiot. If he is unlucky, he will go to hell to report." "I see." Hearing this, Xiao Ximing nodded slightly. She couldn't help but stare at Wu Chun in astonishment. She truly felt that this Confucian disciple was too strange. Almost everything he knew was heterodox and unorthodox, but he didn't know anything about the Confucian school's literary attainments. "I heard that you became the third head of the Confucian school of Yinyang?" Xiao Ximing suddenly asked with a hint of concern in her voice. "Don't be fooled by the Confucian school of Yinyang. The Mahists are all traitors, and the Confucians are not good people either." "I should be the one saying that to you." Dustless rolled his eyes. Compared to the Mahists and Confucians, the school of Yinyang was just as strange. He should be wary of Xiao Ximing. Of course, Xiao Ximing's words made sense. The school of Yinyang and the school of Yinyang both had their own ambitions. They just had different standpoints. Dustless didn't care who was right and who was wrong. "Speaking of which, what memories did you see?" Seeing the faint smile on Dustless's face, Xiao Ximing couldn't help but ask curiously, "Could it be Zhao Gao and Li Si's big secret?" "Something like that." Dustless nodded and sneered. "They just want to kill one of us and force the school of Yinyang and the school of Yinyang to turn against each other." Li Si and Zhang Liang's goal was similar to Zhang Liang's. "Are you mistaken? This kind of thing doesn't benefit them." Young Ximing couldn't figure it out no matter how hard she thought about it. This kind of thankless task didn't seem to benefit Zhao Gao at all. "It's right that you don't understand. It has something to do with the power disputes within the Qin kingdom." Dustless paused for a moment. After sorting out his thoughts, he said, "The school of Yinyang and the Confucian school have a good impression of young Master Fu Su. In the future battle for the throne of the empire, Li Si and Zhao Gao are afraid that we will side with young Master Fu Su. If both the school of Yinyang and the Confucian school supported Fu Su, then there was no need for the others to fight for the throne." Fu Su was already appreciated by Ying Zheng, and if he had the support of the school of Yinyang and the Confucian school as well, then the others would be finished. However, Zhao Gao and Li Si had another candidate in mind, Hu Hai. "It's normal for you to be confused if you don't understand." Voidless looked at the confused young Master Ming. She probably didn't understand what he was saying at all. "Are you looking down on me again?" Hearing this, a faint look of anger appeared on Xiao Ximing's calm face. She seemed to be very dissatisfied with Dustless's attitude. His casual and frivolous tone clearly showed that he was looking down on her. "Again? When did I look down on you? And why did you use the word again? It makes it sound like I've looked down on you many times." Dustless smiled embarrassedly and changed the topic. "Anyway, Li Si won't let the Confucian school and the school of Yinyang form an alliance. After the two schools form an alliance, their strength will be too strong, and it will threaten Li Si and Zhao Gao's position. You have to be careful in the future." "You're looking down on me again," Xiao Ximing pouted, looking very dissatisfied with Dustless. "It's because you don't think I'm strong enough that you told me to be careful. If this isn't looking down on me, then what is? Don't try to deny it." "This girl. I thought she didn't like to talk? She's quite eloquent." Wu Chen couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Xiao Ximing's words made him speechless. Frankly speaking, young Master Ming's current performance was completely different from what he had expected. There was a huge difference. That's not bad. It's better than being a mute who never talks. Looking at Xiao Ximing's delicate face, Dustless smiled and felt relieved. He asked, "Why are you looking for me in the middle of the night? Don't tell me you're just here to chat. Lord Donghuang invites you to the Mirage for a chat." Looking at Dustless, Xiao Ximing said, "It's getting late. Come with me." "I knew you're not here for a date." Dustless hummed and looked very unhappy. He asked impatiently, "That Donghuang Tai?" "It's Lord Donghuang." Before Dustless could finish his nonsense, Xiao Ximing interrupted him and said seriously, "Calling Donghuang by his name has serious consequences. It's disrespectful." "It's none of my business. I'm not a disciple of the school of Yinyang." Dustless didn't care. No matter how mysterious and powerful Donghuang Tai was, he was just an ordinary person. Was there a need to respect him like a god? Besides, God knows how many gods have died in my hands, let alone Donghuang Tai. Dustless snorted in his mind. He didn't care about Donghuang Tai at all. Instead, he felt that Xiao Ximing and the others had been brainwashed. Why is the leader of the school of Yinyang looking for me? Following Xiao Ximing, Dustless asked out of boredom, "Are you trying to persuade me to join the school of Yinyang?" "There's no need to do that." Xiao Ximing replied indifferently. She glanced at Dustless and said, "You should know that after you and I get married, you'll be half a member of the school of Yinyang. Ancient women are so obedient. The 3 obedience and 4 virtues are so good." Dustless murmured to himself. The school of Yinyang simply ordered Xiao Ximing and Dustless to get married. She didn't resist at all and accepted everything. If it was in his previous era, it would be unimaginable. Chapter 1871. Come to think of it, Donghuang Tai is on the Mirage. Dustless looked up at the sky. Even with the black night sky, he could still see the horizon clearly. The giant ship docked on the sea was especially clear in his eyes. "What's the matter?" Dustless looked at young Master Ming with a confused expression. To be honest, he didn't know Donghuang Tai, the most mysterious being in the world. Dustless knew very little about him. But from young Master Ming's tone, it wasn't hard to tell that Donghuang Tai was looking forward to meeting Dustless. "Aren't you afraid that I'll harm you?" After walking for a few minutes, young Master Ming suddenly turned around and looked at Dustless, who was deep in thought, and said coldly, "Maybe this is a trap. Everyone on the Mirage is from the school of Yinyang. So what?" Hearing this, Wuchen just replied with a flat question as if nothing had happened, and his light tone was completely filled with confidence and calmness that caused others to admire him. The school of Yinyang had 5 elders, 2 guardians, and the mysterious Donghuang Tai. This magnificent lineup was enough to make all the other sects pale in comparison. Even an expert like Gunia would die if he was surrounded by these experts. But Dustless wasn't afraid. "Actually, I want to take a look at the Mirage too." Dustless's eyes turned slightly as he made a plan in his mind. "I can use this opportunity to sneak into the Mirage and take Shirlan's brother away from Yun Zhongjuan. Shirlan was poisoned last time because she went into the Mirage alone. I can use this opportunity to take Shirlan's brother away." "You're quite brave." Young Master Ming turned around and smiled faintly. She continued to lead Dustless forward. No one wanted the person they were about to marry to be an incompetent idiot who was afraid of everything. Dustless's fearless spirit might seem brainless, but young Master Ming admired it. He was much better than those men who were afraid in the face of a big problem. Instead of calling the Mirage a ship, it was more appropriate to call it a floating city on the sea. Its unprecedented size filled up the entire eyeball, and one couldn't even see the end of it. It was simply too big. At this moment on the Mirage, Dustless looked at the unprecedented giant ship in shock. His eyes were a little dazed. The Mirage built by the Gongshu family's mechanism art combined with the Yinyang school's mechanism art is indeed beyond imagination. At first glance, what came into Wu Qi's eyes were countless pavilions, terraces, and pagodas. Perhaps they were built by Yin Zheng as a palace on the ocean, and the formation was extremely exaggerated. Dustless snuck into the mirage alone to discuss with Great Sea Ming and Moon God. He didn't pay much attention to the surroundings, but now that he had young Sea Ming with him, he couldn't help but admire Gong Shu Chao's intelligence. Are you finally here? You made me wait for so long. Dustless furrowed his brows as his gaze swept over to the source of the voice. What entered his vision was Xing Han, who was standing with his hands clasped behind his back. Don't speak in such a tone. I'm afraid others will misunderstand. Dustless shook his finger with an expression that said, I'm not familiar with you. Misunderstand? What misunderstand? Xing Han didn't understand what Dustless was talking about and looked at him in confusion. I'm afraid others will say that my sexual orientation is abnormal. With that, Dustless left with young Sea Ming, ignoring Xing Han's pale face. Dustless thought that young Sea Ming would bring him directly to see Dong Huang Tai, but instead, she brought him to a room with a nice environment. It's getting late. I'll bring you to see His Excellency Dong Huang tomorrow. Tonight, you can rest here. I'll be staying next door. Just look for me if you need anything. As soon as she finished speaking, young Sea Ming was about to leave. Gosh, that Dong Huang Tai is really good at putting on airs. Seeing young Sea Ming leaving and heading next door, Dustless mumbled to himself. Then he closed the door decisively and left a shadow clone to replace him. As for his real body, he went to look for Great Sea Ming. Anyway, Dustless had left the Flying Thunder God Warlock on Great Sea Ming a long time ago. Although the elusive mirage was huge, finding Great Sea Ming was just a matter of thought. In the misty room, a few naked figures could be vaguely seen. They were hidden in the mist, and their snow-white bodies made one's imagination run wild. I can't figure out what they're planning. Why would the school of Yinyang ally with the Confucian school? Now young Sea Ming is going to marry Dustless. What is Dong Huang Tai trying to do? Great Sea Ming soaked in the water lazily. His rosy cheeks were filled with confusion. He was a little jealous of young Sea Ming. Although he had become Dustless's woman, they were not officially married. Now that young Sea Ming had gotten to him first, Great Sea Ming was jealous. I don't know. Moon God also shook her head. What was Dong Huang Tai thinking? She could not figure it out no matter how hard she tried. Beside Moon God was a pretty girl. She was swimming around in the hot spring. Sometimes, she would let out a pleasant laugh. She was Moon Goddess. Plop. At this moment, the peaceful atmosphere was suddenly broken. A black figure suddenly flew out of the void and fell into the hot spring under the shocked gazes of Moon Goddess, Great Sea Ming, and Moon Goddess. Gosh, people from the school of Yinyang are really extravagant to be able to soak in a hot spring on the ship. Wu Chun, who had fallen into the water, finally managed to climb out of the water to catch his breath. He looked up and saw 3 naked bodies. Yueshan, Great Sea Ming, and Yu Er were all staring at him without moving. If I said I didn't do it on purpose, you would believe me, right? Chapter 1872. Dustless was embarrassed. He did not expect Great Sea Ming to be taking a bath and to be soaking in the hot spring with Yueshan and Yu Er. Who would have thought that there would be a hot spring above the elusive mirage? It was too extravagant in terms of technology in this era. If you continue to stare at us, I might really be bothered. Yueshan's tone was calm as she tried her best to maintain her composure. However, if one were to look closely, they would notice that Yueshan's mouth was twitching. This fella, such a crooked trick. There's nothing special about it. Yueshan used to admire Dustless when she knew that Dustless could use such a heaven-defying trick like the Flying Thunder God. However, she was filled with disdain now. Such a vulgar move was simply rotten to the core. Cough cough. I'm sorry. Dustless smiled awkwardly and retracted his gaze awkwardly. With his back facing the 3 ladies, he said, "The 3 of you should go and put on your clothes. It won't be good if someone sees you." Wu Chun was actually feeling frustrated as well. He had never thought that Great Sea Ming would be bathing at this moment, and that he would be implicated as an innocent person. "Brother Dustless." A crisp voice entered his ears. Dustless was stunned for a moment before he turned around to look. You. With a bright smile, Dustless rubbed the little girl's head and asked with concern. How's life above the elusive mirage? Are you bored? Sister Yueshin is very nice to me. Sister Great Ming is the same. They all play with me. Yuer blinked her eyes and smiled contentedly. As Dustless had informed Yueshin beforehand, Yueshin and the rest were even more protective of you. Why? Do you think that will torture Qianlong? Great Ming and Yueshin had put on their clothes again. The one who spoke was Great Ming. The two of them only put on a layer of clothes to prevent themselves from being exposed. However, this gauze that was as thin as a cicada's wing was nothing to Dustless. It couldn't be helped. Dustless had all kinds of eye techniques, so his eyesight was ridiculously good. Even the filthy deep sea was clear to him at a glance. What's more, it was just a thin layer of muslin. Of course I trust the two of you. Dustless looked at Moon God and Great Ming's eyes and tried his best not to look at their naked bodies. You two know Er's uniqueness better than I do. Some necessary precautions are unavoidable. So in your heart, we're not even as important as a little girl. A slightly jealous voice suddenly sounded. If it was Great Ming who said this, Dustless would not be an exception. After all, he had already done that kind of thing with Great Ming. But if it was the Moon God, this guy, did he take the wrong medicine? Dustless stared at the Moon God in astonishment. He thought she was just joking because she was bored. Moon God, what's the result of the investigation I asked you to do? Dustless asked bluntly. Does Yin Zhongjuan have the ability to refine the elixir of immortality? Dustless did not dawdle. After asking the question, he had to go back and rest. It would be bad if young Ming noticed something wrong. This, Moon God hesitated for a moment and then said, based on the current situation, it should be possible. Otherwise, Yingzheng would not spend so much time on Yin Zhongjuan. You're right. Dustless nodded thoughtfully. Yingzheng was a very smart emperor. He would never do something that was strenuous and unrewarding. He was willing to spend a lot of resources on Yin Zhongjuan because he had nothing better to do. Right. Dustless's eyes lit up. A peerless beauty suddenly appeared in his mind. Her graceful body circled around Dustless's mind. He could not get rid of her figure forever. It was as if she had left a mark on his soul. Brother Dustless, can you help me save my mother? Before Dustless could speak, Yuer's pitiful voice came first. You mean Concubine Yen? The figure in Dustless's mind was, in fact, Concubine Yen. Concubine Yen? A strange ripple flashed across the Moon God's expressionless face. Her originally gentle face suddenly turned cloudy and cold. Dustless could not help but raise his eyebrows. He thought to himself, I've heard that the Moon God and Concubine Yen are not on good terms. There is a great grudge between them. Now it seems to be true. Actually, I also want to ask why Concubine Yen was suddenly released. If I remember correctly, she should have been locked up by Dong Huangtai. Staring at the Moon God and Great Ming, Dustless was filled with questions. We don't know the details either. The Moon God and Great Ming looked at each other and shook their heads. Although one of them was a guardian of the school of Yinyang, and the other was one of the 5 great elders of the school of Yinyang, they were not omnipotent. At least one thing is certain. Dong Huangtai and Concubine Yen must have some kind of secret agreement. The Moon God, who was of a higher status than Great Ming, obviously knew more. She continued, ever since Xing Hun was severely injured by you, Dong Huangtai released Concubine Yen. I think he is targeting you. But it's really ironic. At the end, the Moon God's lips curled into a self-mocking smile. She secretly sighed that the school of Yinyang might really be on the decline. This Zichen in front of her was actually Dustless in disguise. Dustless appeared in the school of Yinyang's base. Ironically, no one noticed anything wrong with him. That's because my disguise technique is profound. Great Ming interrupted with a smile. His tone was filled with pride and arrogance. She was in charge of Dustless's disguise. Brother Dustless, you will help Yuer save my mother, right? Yuer pulled Dustless's right hand and rubbed it against her face. She looked at him with puppy eyes. You are so adorable. After sighing, Dustless hesitated for a moment before he agreed. I was the one who sent you to the school of Inyang. You have been living alone in the Mirage Tower. It must have been hard on you. I will help you save your mother this time. Consider it my compensation to you. Chapter 1873. Dustless did not mind saving concubine Yen since she would not be a hindrance to him. Do you have any other questions? If not, I will leave now. Young Master Ming is staying next door to me. If she finds out anything, it will be troublesome. Dustless frowned and was about to leave. You can just kill her. Great Ming added fuel to the fire and said, Are you going to return her to you? Don't tell me you are not her match, or... At this point, Great Ming walked around Wu Chen with a faint smile on his face. When he saw the latter's awkward expression, he said slowly, Could it be that you really have feelings for young Ming? Don't be fooled by her beauty. She has thorns. Eastern Emperor Tai must have a motive for ordering the marriage between young Master Ming and the Confucian school. Moon Goddess agreed softly and said worriedly, Killing her is the best choice. Kill young Master Ming? Dustless showed a serious expression on his face, but he was very relaxed in his heart. It was not hard to tell that he was just brushing off Moon Goddess and Great Ming. No matter what, I am a top-notch expert who has traversed countless dimensions. If I can't even take down young Master Ming, it will be a joke. After nagging for a while, Dustless disappeared from Moon Goddess and Great Ming's eyes. Damn it! Which room is it? In the dead silent corridor, Dustless looked at the rows of rooms in front of him in frustration. He looked around and did not move for a long time. Dustless tragically realized that all the rooms were exactly the same. For a moment, he forgot where he was staying. It should be this room. Dustless looked at the cut on the ground and muttered. It was made by Kanai, and was used to locate the spatial coordinates. Creak. The door was pushed open gently, but the scene that greeted him almost blinded Dustless. Are you changing your clothes? Young Master Ming's naked body entered his eyes. Her curvaceous body was in full view. She had the golden ratio without any excess fat. Although young Master Ming had a cold personality, her body could make one's blood boil. In fact, in some areas, she was even better than Great Ming, who had already had sex with Dustless. Dustless's mind was in a trance as he looked at her pure and seductive body. Have you seen enough? The same cold voice came out from young Master Ming's throat. However, it was different from before, as it was slightly trembling. It was not hard to see that young Master Ming's heart was extremely complicated. Ahem, I'm sorry. Dustless reluctantly lowered his head, looked at the floor and said, I want to go to the toilet. It's almost the same here. I can't find a place, so I came to trouble you. Who knew? I'm really sorry. Dustless apologized again, and found an extremely awkward excuse to deal with it. But Xiao Ming wasn't sure if she would believe it or not. Just go out and turn left for 50 steps. After saying this calmly, Xiao Ming's voice stopped again. Dustless turned his head slightly and stole a glance at Xiao Ming. She had already changed into a white coat, which was almost the same as what Yueshan and Great Ming had said. In Dustless's eyes, it was as if it was transparent. Strange. After walking out of young Master Ming's bedroom, Dustless said without hesitation. The kunai was clearly placed at the door. Why did it enter young Master Ming's room? Did I remember wrongly? His mind was like paste, overturning the sky and the earth. It was a mess. Forget it, I'll go to sleep. Suddenly, Dustless stopped walking. He turned around and walked towards his room, but Xiao Ming blocked his way. You're lying to me. After observing Dustless for a while, Xiao Ming said slowly. Didn't you notice the difference in the room just now? Dustless fell silent. He really didn't notice anything. All the rooms in the Mirage were the same. What difference could there be? The room you saw me changing my clothes in was actually your own room. Xiao Ming said something shocking, and her eyes were filled with shrewdness. No wonder. I told you Dustless couldn't have placed the kunai in the wrong place. Dustless's confusion was suddenly solved. When he opened his mouth to argue, Xiao Ming's beautiful voice made Dustless pause. He had to swallow the words that were about to come out of his mouth. You must have sneaked out just now, right? And I also smelled a unique scent from your body. It's very similar to the faint scent of Yuetian and Xiao Ximing squinted her eyes and continued. There are still water stains on your clothes that haven't been dried yet. There's no water around. If it's tea, it must have the scent of tea. Unfortunately, it's not. Don't you want to explain it to me? This woman who always looks like she doesn't know anything about the world is actually very shrewd. It's the complete opposite of her naive face. Dustless was secretly shocked. He fell into the water just now, and when he came back, his body was still wet. He had to use chakra to evaporate a large amount of water stains, but his clothes were still wet. As for the scent of Yuetian, Dustless didn't know. Maybe it was because he accidentally touched it when he fell into the water just now. If you don't give me a reasonable explanation. Explanation? What explanation? Dustless had an idea. He immediately started to pester endlessly. He said angrily, "You people from the school of Yinyang really don't know etiquette. That woman called Yuetian actually took me away to investigate. How dare you? And I was afraid that you would be worried, so I purposely hid that I was sleeping. Now you're looking at me with such a betraying gaze. Xiao Ximing, you're so unreasonable. I'm so sad. I'll just divorce you." Chapter 1874. Hearing this, Xiao Ximing was stunned for a long time. After staring at Dustless for a while, she suddenly felt a breath of cold air. Only then did Xiao Ximing come back to her senses. Taking a closer look, it was Wu Chun with a grave and stern face. This aggrieved expression seemed like he had suffered a great humiliation. You want to divorce me?" Her eyes widened a few times. Even with Xiao Ximing's indifferent personality, she still trembled as she spoke. She was truly shocked by Dustless's, "I want to divorce you. You're still so arrogant after making a mistake?" Xiao Ximing's eyes were fixed on Dustless's face. Her world view was refreshed. This bastard clearly made a mistake, but he still looked like he was framing her. Shameless to the extreme. Huff huff huff, young Master Ming's career trembled in anger. Her hair-raising curves dazzled Wu Chen's eyes, and he almost couldn't help drooling. When Xiao Ximing was still like a virgin, there was a kind of tranquil beauty. Even though she was angry now, there was a different kind of charm. "You're twisting words." Xiao Ximing gritted her teeth and coldly retorted Dustless. "You were the one who made a mistake first, and you still dare to say that you want to divorce me? Why wouldn't I dare?" Dustless looked back at Xiao Ximing and said loudly, "I'm going to divorce you this time. Hurry up and bring me a pen and paper. I'm going to break up with you right now." "You." Hearing this, Xiao Ximing's pretty face darkened. Anger was rolling in the depths of her eyes. Xiao Ximing had always been loyal to Dong Huangtai's orders. Even if he asked her to die, she would do it without hesitation. Since Dong Huangtai ordered her to marry Dustless, then Xiao Ximing would definitely not refuse. "You want to divorce me? Not a chance." Xiao Ximing pouted her thin lips and glanced at Dustless before leaving. "After I ask the moon god about the details, I'll come back to deal with you. If you're lying, I'll make you regret it." As soon as she finished speaking, young Arbiter Ming turned into a breeze and left. What a naive fool. The moon goddess is one of my people. Do you even need to think about what will happen to her? You will definitely lose everything. Dustless, who was extremely bored, went back to his room to sleep as he watched her leave in a huff. Needless to say, the moon god must be on Dustless's side. Naturally, she would agree to Dustless's statement that young Arbiter Ming was destined to fail. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, it was already late at night. After working hard for half the night, Dustless also felt a burst of bone-deep fatigue. His head was dizzy, and just as he fell on the bed, he fell into a deep sleep. About 4 to 6 hours later, Dustless subconsciously opened his eyes when he felt a faint movement in his body. The lights in the room were turned on again. The strangest thing was that young Master Ming was sitting beside Dustless, staring at the confused Dustless without blinking. You're not going to kill me, are you?" After being stunned for a few seconds, Dustless rubbed his eyes and asked, "If that's the case, I advise you to stop." You should know the difference in strength between you and me. Sorry, I was too reckless before. With an apologetic look on her beautiful face, young Master Ming said in a low voice, I just heard the moon goddess say that she did capture you for interrogation. I'm sorry, Zichen. Dustless's lips curled into a fleeting smile. He sighed in his heart. Just as I predicted, this crisis is finally resolved. All right, it's fine. You can go back now. My head hurts. I'm going to sleep. After apologizing, Dustless didn't want to continue pestering her. He was in the wrong, and young Master Ming wasn't in the wrong. He should forgive and forget. You won't divorce me, right? Clenching the corner of her shirt, Xiao Ming asked nervously, I have apologized, and you have forgiven me. Hearing this, for some reason, Dustless's sleepiness disappeared without a trace. Seeing young Master Ming's tense face, Dustless felt a stabbing pain in his heart. Was Dong Huangtai's order that important to her? Dustless could tell that young Master Ming was so nervous because she was worried that he would divorce her. It wasn't that young Master Ming liked him. She was just worried that she couldn't complete the mission given by Dong Huangtai. For the school of Yinyang, Dong Huangtai was everything. But the cruel thing was that young Master Ming was just an insignificant chess piece in Dong Huangtai's eyes. From the marriage between young Master Ming and the Confucian school, it could be seen that young Master Ming could be abandoned at any time. I'm fine, young Master Ming. Let's get along well in the future. You can go back first. I just have a headache. I'll be fine after some rest. Shaking his head, Dustless was about to lie down again when he noticed that his pillow was taken away. Will this make you feel better? The young Master Ming put Wu Chen's head on her legs. The soft feeling was very comfortable. Wu Chen could even smell the orchid fragrance of the young Master Ming's body. She was also very considerate as she massaged Wu Chen's temples. Young Master Ming, there's no need for that. I've already forgiven you. I said that I would divorce you in a moment of anger. I'll take it back now. Dustless suddenly felt a little embarrassed about the hard-earned pillow. After all, he was the one who shamelessly asked for it. I was too reckless tonight. Young Master Ming said stubbornly, sleep well. This is my responsibility. I'm the one who caused your headache, so I'll take care of it. What a pity. Dustless sighed in his heart. He was already planning to kill Dong Huangtai, that crazy brainwashing demon. Chapter 1875. Peacefully lying on Xiao Ming's knees, Wu Chen curved up his mouth corners in a pleasant smile, while humming a faintly discernible song. He seemed to be enjoying himself quite a bit. It was a great gift for Dustless that Xiao Ming was willing to lower herself to be his pillow. Now that he was using her slender fingers to massage his temples, Dustless would never have dared to imagine such luxurious enjoyment. How do you feel? After a few minutes, Xiao Ming suddenly asked. Very good. People from the school of Yinyang are second to none in everything they do. No one can compare to them. Dustless, who was lying on Xiao Ming's legs, opened his eyes. Her serious face also appeared in his eyes. Xiao Ming gave off a very different feeling when she was close to him. Especially when she was so tactful. Dustless was a little dazed. Xiao Ming, do you know a man called Yuziki? After a moment of silence, Dustless suddenly changed the topic and said, I heard that he was captured by Yin Zhongjuan. Can you help me get him out? Yuziki? Is he your friend? Xiao Ming lowered her head and looked at Dustless's satisfied smile. She said meaningfully, since he was captured by Yin Zhongjuan, it means that your friend is somewhat special. As one of the 5 great elders of the school of Yinyang, Xiao Ming naturally knew what kind of person Yin Zhongjuan was. Dustless saw the intelligent expression on Xiao Ming's face with his clear eyes. He also knew that it was impossible to continue hiding some things. It was completely unnecessary. Just like what Xiao Ming said, if he was an ordinary person, Yin Zhongjuan would not have captured him. He's from Shu Mountain. He's the brother of a friend of mine. After thinking for a while, Dustless continued. If you're willing to help me find him, I'll owe you a favor this time. People from Shu Mountain? Hearing this, Xiao Ming hesitated for a moment before replying without hesitation. I heard from Lord Xinghun that people from Shu Mountain have appeared in Shanghai recently. They are all traitors of the Empire, and are no different from the Mo family. I really didn't expect you to be related to them. Dustless laughed embarrassedly and shrugged. If you want to capture me, I have nothing to say. But I won't sit still and wait for death. Loquacious, I knew you would say that. Young Master Ming rolled her eyes at Dustless and said, I can try, but I can only do my best. If Yin Zhongjuan doesn't want to hand him over, I can't do anything about it. After all, the Mirage was Yin Zhongjuan's territory, and he was the only ship owner here. Not going to hand him over? Hearing this, Dustless sneered in his heart. If he didn't want to hand him over, it meant that he was choosing to fight head-on. The biggest difference between people in this world was that some people were tactful and knew how to go with the flow. This was the golden rule of survival. However, some people chose to go against the current. They wanted to challenge the monstrous waves with the body of an ant. If this wasn't courting death, then what was? There's one more person. A graceful woman in palace attire suddenly appeared in his mind. This person was Yu Er's birth mother, concubine Yan. Let's take it slow. After thinking for a while, Dustless could only give up the idea of saving her for the time being. The huge Mirage hid countless dark rooms. It was easier said than done to find a person. Moreover, he didn't know what concubine Yan's attitude towards him was. My head is much better now. You should go back and rest, young Master Ming. Pushing away young Master Ming's fingers, Dustless moved away from her knees and said with a smile, The task of helping me get Yuziki back is yours, so you should go back and rest as well. You're pushing me away again. It seems that you haven't forgiven me yet. Young Master Ming pouted and was dissatisfied again. Hearing this, Dustless curled his lips helplessly and couldn't help but mutter, You're so hard to please. Hee. The corners of Dustless's mouth curled up slightly. He suddenly laughed, leaned close to young Master Ming's ear, and blew a breath of hot air. It seems that you want to stay here tonight. However, there's only one bed in this room. Do you plan to sleep with me? Something out of the ordinary? Why can't I? Staring at Dustless's face, young Master Ming asked as if nothing had happened. Although her face was already as red as an apple, and her eyes were filled with shyness, young Master Ming still gritted her teeth and persisted with great courage. Anyway, this day will come sooner or later. Young Master Ming comforted herself in her heart, and it was quite effective. Her abnormal breathing soon calmed down, and her beautiful eyes looked at Dustless as calm as water. Then, under the latter's surprised gaze, she gracefully crawled into Dustless's bed. That. I was just saying. You don't have to take it seriously. Dustless didn't expect young Master Ming to be so obedient. He was just trying to provoke her, and his intention was to drive her away. Who knew that the people from the school of Yinyang were indeed different? Not only were Yueshan and Great Master Ming hard to understand, even the seemingly innocent young Master Ming would sometimes do something shocking. For example, right now young Master Ming wasn't deterred. Instead, her sudden action stunned Dustless, and he suddenly felt a little embarrassed. Are you being shy? Seeing Dustless's uncertain expression, young Master Ming's tone became a little strange, and she said sarcastically, It's just sleeping. Do you have to be so concerned? Moreover, this day will come sooner or later. Don't forget that you and I are going to get married in a few days. This guy, hearing this, Dustless frowned. If it was in the past, young Master Ming would definitely understand what it meant to be a man with iron blood. But now the situation was different. Since Great Master Ming helped Dustless to disguise himself, Dustless's appearance was a disguise. His current identity was still Zichun, and it wouldn't make sense for him to do it with her. Chapter 1876. But Dustless's eyes were glowing as he stared at young Master Ming's beautiful body. Sleeping together didn't mean they had to do anything inappropriate. They could communicate in other ways. For example, seeing young Master Ming crawl into his bed, Dustless didn't hold back and crawled in as well. If he continued to be a coward, young Master Ming would definitely look down on him, and even despise him. You don't touch my leg. Noticing Dustless's strange movements, young Master Ming snorted and complained. Her cheeks were red, and she wanted to scold Dustless. However, a special electric current flowed through her body, and she ended up moaning like a spoiled child. Oh, sorry, my hand slipped. Dustless smirked and completely ignored young Master Ming's feelings. That's my left leg, don't touch it. That's my chest. Don't touch me. Dustless was originally very tired, but after young Master Ming's tantrum, he didn't feel sleepy at all. The two spent the whole night in the warm bed and talked about the future. The scene was quite harmonious. They only fell asleep at dawn, and when they woke up again it was already afternoon. Geez, my head is even dizzier. Dustless opened his eyes in a daze. He suddenly felt that his right arm was a little numb. Just as he was about to rub it, he suddenly stopped. This guy really knows how to enjoy himself. Looking at young Master Ming, Dustless didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She was sleeping peacefully on Dustless's right arm, and there was a faint smile on her peaceful face. She looked quite satisfied. Now that he thought about it, young Master Ming's life was very monotonous in the past. Other than cultivating, she probably did nothing else. She was just like a machine. Now that she had Wuxia, an experienced player, to accompany her, her life was more interesting than before. Dustless didn't do much to the Arbiter of Fate last night. They just had some fun and it wasn't too bad. At the very least, it was much happier than when he was studying in the Confucian school. Let's sleep a little longer. Dustless pulled Xiaoxi Ming into his embrace with his right arm. He narrowed his eyes again. His pair of small hands couldn't help but become restless again. He pinched left and right, skillfully and vigorously on Xiaoxi Ming's body. You don't have any self-awareness at all. You actually pretended to sleep with me. I'll make you regret it. Dustless snickered in his heart, and the kung fu in his hands became even more intense. Noticing the change in young Master Ming's expression, even though she hid it very well, the corner of her mouth and eyelashes moved slightly without leaving a trace. Dustless's sharp eyes caught everything. Since young Master Ming liked acting, then Dustless would accompany her to the end. After all, he wasn't the one at a disadvantage. Still not up. Xing Hun looked at the servant in front of him with extreme dissatisfaction. He was secretly furious. Just now, he had sent someone to inform young Master Ming that she was going to Mulberry Sea City to carry out a mission to search for the Mo family's traitors. In the end, Xing Hun was stunned that young Master Ming was actually lazing in bed. Xing Hun wouldn't believe such a thing even if he was beaten to death. Lord Xing Hun, please calm down. Yin Zhongjuan looked at the angry Xing Hun and comforted him. Lord Xing Hun, young people are like this. Everything depends on their mood. Why bother arguing with them? You're just lowering yourself. That's reasonable. Arguing with that fellow is too much for him. Xing Hun retracted his anger and regained his calm. He said gloomily, I keep feeling that Zichen is strange. The person who brought him into the Confucian school is undoubtedly Zhang Liang, but I've investigated his background and identity. It's all a blank. It's as if he appeared out of thin air. That's right. Yin Zhongjuan stroked his beard and whispered into Xing Hun's ear. Lord Xing Hun, did you not find anything else suspicious? What else is there? Xing Hun frowned and asked doubtfully. Are you talking about Zichen's martial arts? He doesn't seem to be taught by the Confucian school. That's just one of the reasons. Yin Zhongjuan shook his head and explained. To be honest, I heard that Zichen is inextricably linked to the moon goddess and has an unusual relationship with Great Sea Ming. Someone once saw Great Sea Ming and Zichen having a secret rendezvous in Mulberry Sea. Moon goddess and Great Sea Ming? It was as if Xing Hun's inner demon had been triggered. He immediately pricked up his ears. Tell me the details. Hearing this, Yin Zhongjuan told him the information he heard a few days ago in detail. His expression was indescribably strange. You're saying that Great Sea Ming and Zichen are suspected of having an affair? After a while, Xing Hun, who had heard the whole story, also had a strange expression. He couldn't help but let his imagination run wild. He hurriedly asked, Are you sure about this? It's best if you have actual evidence. I don't have that. Yin Zhongjuan had a helpless expression. In fact, when his subordinates were buying medicine, they happened to see Dustless and Great Sea Ming coming out of the inn. As for what happened, no one knew the details. Forget it. Even if there's no evidence, I can still take the opportunity to get rid of Great Sea Ming. Also Zichen, why does he look so suspicious? When Lord Donghuang mentioned about the marriage alliance with the Confucian school, I strongly opposed it. But anyway, I heard that the kid is going to meet Lord Donghuang today. I can take the opportunity to get rid of Great Sea Ming and Zichen. Xing Hun's eyes flashed coldly. Ever since he used Great Sea Ming as a meat shield, their relationship had almost broken down. Even though Great Sea Ming still called him Lord Xing Hun, they were still not on good terms. He could take the opportunity to meet Donghuang Tai to expose Dustless and Great Sea Ming and get rid of them. Chapter 1877. Originally, Xing Hun was extremely unhappy with the two of them. He had always wanted to attack them, but did not have a suitable excuse. This time, Yin Zhongjuan provided a good reason. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. How could Xing Hun, who had been thinking of taking revenge on Dustless and Great Sea Ming, let go of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? Speaking of which, I also want to see who Zichen of the Confucian school is. Your Excellency East Emperor actually wants to meet him personally. I have never heard of such a thing before. Yin Zhongjuan's tone was filled with anticipation. He wanted to see Dustless's face. Maybe you will be disappointed after you see him. Xing Hun looked at Yin Zhongjuan with dissatisfaction. Then he flicked his sleeves and left angrily. If possible, Xing Hun hoped to have a big fight with Dustless to defeat him and show him what a real genius was. Is this still the Lord Xing Hun who has a big belly? Seeing this, Yin Zhongjuan was truly speechless. He was quite depressed. In the past, Xing Hun wasn't so petty. He was extremely magnanimous. Now he seemed to have changed into a different person. He was extremely petty. Especially when he mentioned Wuxia, his face turned gloomy. On the other side, when Dustless woke up again, the sun had already set. Dustless and young Sea Ming climbed out of the warm blankets. Their faces were still filled with unconcealable laziness. Especially young Sea Ming, who was the strangest. Her face was flushed and her temperament was completely different from before. She even had a hint of seductiveness. The coexistence of purity and seductiveness. The fusion of ice and fire. She is like a fairy sent by the heavens. Looking at the clothed young Master Ming, Wu Chen was moved. Occasionally, he could see her white skin through her careless movements. It stretched as far as the eye could see, reaching the deepest part of her body. Dustless, who was distracted, could not help but let his imagination run wild. He could not help but let out a strange laughter. Hee. The sudden laughter made young Master Ming shiver. Her beautiful eyes blinked a few times, and when she turned around and saw Dustless giggling at her, young Master Ming angrily threw a pillow at him. Hurry up and get up. It's already evening. His Excellency Donghuang said that he would only be free in the morning. There was a hint of regret and self-blame in young Master Ming's voice. She had lost track of time when she was with Dustless. Before she knew it, it was already evening. If it weren't for the servant's reminder, she might still be sleeping, playing. What are you afraid of? Do you think the Eastern Emperor Tai will punish us? I'm a disciple of the Confucian school, and the third master at that. He doesn't have the qualifications to criticize me. Dustless's seemingly lazy tone carried a trace of arrogance. It's just East Emperor Tai. I've already given him enough face by taking the initiative to meet him. Dustless murmured to himself, ignoring young Master Ming, whose pretty face had darkened. Shut up. Young Master Ming glared fiercely at Dustless, then looked around. After making sure that no one was around, she knelt down beside Dustless and said seriously, in the school of Yinyang, His Excellency Donghuang is a godlike existence. A godlike existence? That means he's not a god. But why don't I see you being so respectful when you see me a god? Why is there such a huge difference between people? Dustless's tone carried a trace of resentment. It seemed that he was extremely unhappy with young Master Ming's attitude. Oh, you're quite arrogant, aren't you? At this moment, a cold laugh filled with hostility suddenly came from outside the door. Ka 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 ka. Immediately after, the tightly shut sliding door was suddenly restrained by some kind of force and split open. A young man with an evil aura all over his body walked in. Shorty, who let you in without anyone's permission? Dustless stared at this person with a trace of annoyance in his eyes. There was also a hint of mockery and playfulness. This person was the left guardian of the school of Inyang, Xing Han. Shorty? Hearing this, Xing Han was stunned for a moment. He instinctively turned around and saw that he was alone. Where was the Shorty that Dustless had mentioned? Could it be? You bastard! A sinister look flashed across Xing Han's eyes. He was enraged and reprimanded. The Shorty that you're talking about, don't tell me it's me? Xing Han purposely emphasized the word protector, in an attempt to make Dustless understand the difference in status between them. Ha ha ha, hearing this, Dustless only laughed indifferently. Naturally, he could hear the underlying meaning in Xing Han's words. He said disdainfully, silly boy, you didn't hear wrongly. The Shorty that I'm talking about is you. How dare you? Xing Han was enraged. A purple air blade immediately shot out from between his hands. Lord Xing Han, please remember that Zichen was invited here by His Excellency the Eastern Emperor. Seeing that Xing Han was about to take advantage of this opportunity to make things difficult for him, young Master Ming instantly transformed into a light breeze and stood in front of Dustless like a wall. Her cold and indifferent expression had returned to its usual aloof self. Get out of my way, young Master Ming. You know my character. Anyone who stands in my way will die. Xing Han's face was distorted as he shouted angrily. I hate it when people call me Shorty. Even if he was really short, there was no need to say it out loud. It would hurt his pride. Shorty, Shorty, Shorty. Hearing that Xing Han hated it when people called him Shorty, Dustless immediately went overboard and repeated the words Shorty, like a repeater. Xing Han finally lost his temper. He was one of the protectors of the school of Inyang after all. Being called a Shorty was a blatant slap to his face. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.